It's the night of the senior prom, and everybody is there, even Carrie White. The girl no one likes, and everyone makes fun of. The girl who lives in that creepy house with her cruel mother. The girl with the strange power. But tonight, no one will laugh at Carrie. She'll be voted Queen of the Prom. For Carrie, it will be a dream come true. For everyone else, it will be a nightmare. Carrie, a new film by Brian De Palma, starring Sissy Spacek, Piper Laurie, and John Travolta in his first motion picture role. If you have a taste for terror, you have a date with Carrie. Rated R.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
You know, I didn't learn how to swim until I was 30 or 31. Did you know that?
Yeah, because I remember what a big deal it was to see you in the pool at the Walters that one time.
Well, I could stand in that water.
Yeah, but you were excited because that was, as somebody as little rich boy over here who grew up with a pool in my backyard. It was interesting to see you swim because like I don't think we had ever really been in an environment that you actually were able to swim. I don't think we were ever really at a place that had a pool except for the Walters.
Sure. Well, my dad tried to teach me how to swim by pushing me in, and I drowned. That's the whole story.
Yeah.
And then when I was growing up, the other incident with the pool was when I was living in the rough apartments, the kind of like the bully of the neighborhood pushed me in to the deep end. And I don't know where my dad pushed me in exactly, but but this kid pushed me in at like the 9 feet, and I'm like 7.
I put myself into the deep end once and almost drowned, and luckily there was a lifeguard or just a very nice person walking by that saw a kid drowning in the public pool and jumped in and helped me. But yeah, I almost drowned myself because I went exactly where my mom told me not to go.
Well, I was like, my sister pulled me out. She was nearby and she saw me hit the water and she's like, you can't swim.
Yeah.
When people go like, whoa, you didn't learn to swim until you were in your 30s. I was like, well, I had to get over drowning twice.
Yeah. and also get over swimming in creeks, which you'll never do.
I have no desire to get a brain amoeba personally, but
fair enough.
Maybe professionally, but not personally.
Yeah, I mean, fair.
But that all being said, I don't swim very often, yet here I sit across from you, frustrated, tired, and sore because I have swimmer's ear.
Yeah, you do.
I have an ear infection, and it's great.
That leads me to believe that you just didn't Andrew WK hard enough when you got out of the shower to shake all the water out of your ear.
Oh, I did. I did everything in my power to try and get that ear dried out.
Do you get ear infections like often, or like have issues with it often?
This is the first one I can recall.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So it's got to be decade or more since I've had an ear infection, if at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall the last time I did.
I think the last time recently is when you helped me out when I had an ear infection, but I had that ear stopped up.
Yeah,
that was like the worst thing that I've encountered ear wise in probably a good while. I can't remember the last time I had an actual ear infection. Had to have been a little kid.
You want one? I can help you.
I'm good. I
could swab mine and then try to.
I was already nervous sitting next to you at the theater, to be honest. I was trying to do this the whole time in case you didn't see.
Oh, I thought you were just covering one of your ears, so it was half as scary. But I hate this.
Yeah,
it feels awful.
I feel awful for you right now.
But on the plus side, David boy, I'm on a bunch of pain medicine.
There is that,
which is making me feel really weird. which I hate. And we're going to talk about a movie where we're going to have to talk about school a bunch. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah,
well, in my defense, I came around to really, really getting excited to talk about this movie because I've always liked this movie. But it wasn't until rewatching it last night that I was just like, this movie actually has a really big place in my life, which I'll get into. So I was kind of happy about that it was just kind of like a rediscovery with this that had been a part of my life for a long time.
Interesting. Not
indeed.
really.
Yeah,
no,
it's fair.
No. I mean, movies are that way.
That's kind of one of the things that I love about them because when I was watching it last night, I took to Facebook and wrote a thing basically saying how people ask me all the time, why do I like movies so much? And the simple and short answer is the movie itself can be a spectacle. It can be awesome. But usually the experiences that people have with them can be even bigger stories, in my opinion, and interesting stories. Like I love hearing people's first time seeing something, how they found something along those lines. Not everybody's story is great. I'm not going to say that, but it's more so just the experiences that we have with films in general can be really, really good storytelling in and of itself.
You heard it here first, kids. Dave says some of your stories suck.
Some of my stories suck.
Oh,
is what it is. You won't burn the mic.
I was looking for my phone.
I put it right there for you.
Oh, this is what happens when I'm all knocked off.
Pocket?
Nope.
IDK, my BFF Jill.
Well, eventually we had an email to read on the show.
We'll find it.
Will we?
I hope. It couldn't have gone anywhere.
It can't have gotten far. Wow.
You didn't put it in the humidor, did you?
No.
Okay.
There's no room in it.
Well, wait, you just had it a minute ago, and also that just went off.
Yeah, that's fine.
You just had it a minute ago because you were checking something. It's got to be near you.
This is such a nightmare.
That's mine.
What? Oh,
that's mine.
Why am I alive?
This is so interesting for the listeners right now. I'm loving this. The fuck did you put your phone at?
Who cares?
I do.
This is just gonna be my day.
You're not sitting on it, right?
Nope. I would notice that.
I would think so. Yeah.
It's all right.
This is weird. You just had it.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm annoyed.
Yeah, I understand.
But don't worry about it, Dave.
All right, fair enough.
If we die, we die. So my point is I'm trying my best, but I am not batting a very high average right now.
What you're saying is I'm going to carry this show tonight.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
So we are talking about, for those unaware, we are talking about Carrie from 1976 tonight, which, by the way, this was a listener request for one of our listeners' birthday. Nicole L. requested this for us to talk about. And Nicole, I'm really happy you picked this one because it, like I said, has a bigger place than I realized. But before we get to that, we just saw an awesome movie before we came here. We did.
No, we did. No, we went and saw Final Destination Bloodline.
Yes, sir.
Which I guess is just going to help continue the long story tradition of Bloodlines sequels.
Yeah, I mean, Hellraiser Bloodlines, Pet Sematary Bloodlines. I feel like there's one more, but I can't remember.
I think that might actually be
is
all,
that
but
it?
that's
Okay.
still a lot.
Because I feel like Children of the Corn Bloodlines is just like unavoidable at this point.
Yeah, honestly, I'm shocked.
And I mean, honestly, Leprechaun Bloodlines would make sense too, in my opinion. You could honestly call that instead of Origins, which was a terrible fucking movie.
Let's see. Titles matching Bloodlines according to IMDb. Oh, Wrong Turn 5 Bloodlines.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then Hellraiser was Bloodline.
Bloodline, yeah. Pet Sematary Bloodlines.
Tremors 5 Bloodlines.
Oh, fuck yeah, that's right.
Jesus, dude.
Sorry, I just, I'm excited.
Day of the Dead Bloodlines.
That's so, okay, yeah, we are way more than I originally thought.
Let's see. That might be it. Wrongful Death 2 Bloodlines
Don't
coming
even know
out.
what that
It's
is.
it's like a low budget thing. I can't believe how many things we're finding. These say they're coming out, so I don't know if that's true.
Those
It's a
don't count.
Commando Bloodline.
Wait, Commando is in Commando?
It's on IMDb. Everything's a lie there. A soldier returns home from war to be reunited with his fiancée, but not everything goes to plan.
If they're doing a
Will this
direct
be his final mission?
video sequel to Commando, I don't know how I feel about that.
It's a Bollywood movie.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
And actually, a lot of these were Bollywood movies, but that one didn't look immediately like one, so I said it.
That's fair.
Video game-wise, Assassin's Creed's Bloodlines.
Yep, knew that.
I think we might find
That might be the appeal.
That's
Do you want to go into books next, or even albums?
surprisingly a lot. Am I wrong that that's like
No, that's a
of
lot. I
Bloodline
mean,
movies?
that's a lot. There's not a lot of movies that share the same subtitle. Bloodlines is definitely one of them, though. Bloodline or Bloodlines, for that matter. But no, we went into this movie obviously amped because Final Destination movies, as we talked about when we did our episode, are a blast.
When did we do that?
A couple weeks ago. That's fine. Actually, last week. I'm all off right now. It's fine.
It was last week.
It was last week, yes. But yeah, no, when we talked about Final Destination, like we highlighted that it's just the way that there's your fucking phone.
Oh. Why'd you interrupt? You were making a point.
What? I'd interrupt myself because I saw your phone.
Oh. I don't mean to brag, but my stock purchasing app just informed me I received a dividend from one of my stock holdings.
There you go.
32 cents.
All right.
All mine. All right.
No, but Final Destination, there's just a fun that goes along with these movies of how are they going to do it. And this movie did not disappoint with that.
How are they going to do what?
How are they going to kill people?
Well, but there's the 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Because you see a bunch of people die at the beginning.
Yeah. They had
in wild ways.
Yeah.
And then the vengeance for them, not dying when their time had come.
Yeah.
I roll my eyes when I say that because the more I think of how death functions and operates, the more I'm like, you're inconsistent and kind of a dick.
I still go back to the whole thing of one having the only instance where death tries to cover its tracks, even though, sucking the water up. It's basically just making it look like a direct suicide versus actually getting involved.
Well, it always tries to make it look like an accident at the very least.
Yeah.
So it does cover its
But I've never
tracks.
seen it suck itself back in that sense.
Yeah, that was a little interesting choice.
Yeah. But I mean, Final Destination Bloodlines, what I think we both liked about it for this one was the approach that they took with the storytelling, because it wasn't the same format as they've done in the sense of the past.
Not really. It definitely felt different in a way that I liked. The opening death was very well thought out, really fun.
God.
I was shocked how wild that opening was.
It just kept getting more and more insane, and then the carnage just didn't stop.
No, we never did get a title.
We didn't. No, I mean at the very end, that was it. Yeah, but yeah, I think my favorite thing about this, which as we did coverage of it last week because of Tony Todd, the send off that they have in this movie for him.
It's so good.
It's perfect.
The way they wrap up Bloodworth.
Yeah,
and I don't feel like that's much of a spoiler because Tony Todd is no longer with us.
Yeah.
But they went out of their way to get this movie to fit in the world.
The world of it, yeah.
Which I really liked, without it being a straight up legacy sequel or a remake requel thing. Which, granted, I mean, I love most of these movies that are getting legacy sequels. I love. I mean, I've loved what David Gordon Green did with the Halloween ones.
Absolutely.
I get what they were trying to do with the Texas Chainsaw one.
Oh, yeah, they tried. Same thing with The Exorcist.
Yeah. The Exorcist one was a lot more satisfying as a fan.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't like the choices, at least they went back
I think
a bunch.
The problem with Texas Chainsaw was you actually already linked it, was they tried to do a 2018 Halloween with that, and it just did
without
not.
winking or trying to make fun of it a little bit or something. They just brought Sally back for friggin' Bupkis.
For Bupkis and body count.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately, Marilyn Burns. Let me tell you something funny, Dave.
Oh no!
No. Let me. I want everybody to understand something. Okay?
Yeah.
So, we've been friends a long time.
Yeah,
a good long time. I mean, not crazy amount, but over 10.
Over 10 years. Yeah,
we've definitely been tight buds 10 years.
Yeah,
pretty much. And when I don't know if you realize this, I think I told you this before, but when we did Cinema Wasteland together, because there was one year where Nobody could help me with the show,
Yeah.
and you volunteered to write up. And
2019, actually.
And you were a real mensch for doing that, because it's hard to do conventions all by yourself and stuff like that. But after hanging out with you nonstop so much, that was the first time I was like, Dave, you are anxious, brother. And that's coming from an anxious person.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a judgment, it's an observation.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things I noticed was that you would often answer things
Before my brain process.
when you weren't ready.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, yeah. And then I'd be like, all right, well, do you want to go there and grab it? You know, grab what? And I'd be like, when you said yes, it was to a question, you know, but it would always be like no, what's the word? Like no fault, no pressure. So it would be like
I'm a yes, no person.
Yeah.
I answer first, and then I actually think about what I said, what was actually asked of me.
My point is that, like, it would be low stakes. That's the term I'm looking for. Like, you know, it'd be, do you want to grab us a couple sodas or something? And you'd answer super fast. It's like, man, we're not even talking about anything important. We're just like, we're going to get something to drink. My point is, when I said Marilyn and I took a pause, it was because I literally in my head was like, don't say Chambers because it's Burns. But I was double checking. I was like, wait, which one's which?
Yeah.
And then you jumped. It gave me pause because I was like, damn, it's like Dave stole my mistake from me.
Marilyn Chambers was actually at Wasteland the very first year I went, and then had passed like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Marilyn Burns, who played Sally Hardesty in the original Texas Chainsaw, she passed away quite a while ago.
Yeah.
So they had this actress who was fine, but they had her come in and be Sally. They did almost nothing with it, really.
5 minutes screen time at that.
But then on top of that, like, it doesn't have the oomph if it's not the person's back.
Texas Chainsaw Netflix was just very tough to enjoy because not even the characters were likable much. That movie, I really wanted to get, because I'm actually somebody that really likes Texas Chainsaw 3D.
I do too.
And there's a lot of people.
We saw it in 3D. And it was a lot more fun in 3D.
I saw it in college in 3D. It was the best.
I thought we went together.
No, we didn't. We didn't. I know we didn't for that one. I was, because that was when I was in college.
I went with somebody. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
But there were so many people that hated that movie, and I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, given we did get the tease with the carnival that we always joke about that he didn't get to do anything at, but I think Texas Chainsaw 3D is actually a really fun movie. Texas Chainsaw on Netflix was just fine.
Yeah. So not to stay on that track, but my point is, like, it just didn't really work. So having Final Destination Bloodlines not really feel like a total retread while still being a movie about the same concept.
Yeah.
I really dug. This might be my favorite Premonition. It was so involved. It was a period piece, because the whole concept of Bloodlines is that that the people born of the people who should have died become a part of the domino chain that Death has to clean up.
Yeah.
My only problem with Death in all of those movies is it's like, okay, Death, so what you're saying is everybody has a time when they're supposed to die. Right. And if they miss it, they've cheated you. So you have to correct that by killing them. Yes. So sometimes when you kill them, it's because you cause, like, a car crash or an accident, like a mass accident that kills other people.
Yeah.
So didn't they die not at their time? It's like, well, it was their time, but you didn't know that these people were going to cheat you. So
my question is, if you take your own life, does that break the chain, or does it just move on to the next person?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it breaks I know it would spare you,
I get a sense.
But no, so it was really fun. I thought the characters were pretty likable. At first, I was a little iffy about the lead actress. I just wasn't sure if I would like her, but I thought she actually played the role, like, really fun and really subtle.
Yeah.
Which I think is why I was a little thrown at first, is she was very understated, which at first made me think she was boring. But I didn't feel that way for more than like 3 or 4 minutes. Yeah. Because she really picked up the pace.
Well, the movie didn't fuck around. Like,
that's what I was about to say. Speaking of pace, for the longest installment at like an hour 48 or something. Yeah. For the longest installment, it booked.
It flew by.
There were a couple of times I turned to you and went, is it just me, or is this movie really flying?
Yeah.
It was moving and moving and moving. And it was one of those movies that, like, when the third act started, about halfway through it dawned on me, like, oh shit, this is the third act.
This is the end, yeah.
Like, we're almost to the end, probably, maybe. But you're right. I think that it was a great installment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the last one being that gory. This was really gory.
It was very gory, and also it was consistent with the mythology of the slow build to the deaths is
the
what it
Rube
felt like
Goldberg
to me.
machines of death.
Because like I remember 5 having a lot more of boom, it's it just and done, and 4 honestly had a little bit of build. I haven't seen the Final Destination in a while, but I remember it having a bit of a slow build with some of those deaths. This one in particular, like I'm not going to spoil it, but the one in the hospital.
Oh yeah, that was really.
We were sitting there just be like, what's? I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen.
I thought it was going to be kind of dumb,
Yeah.
and they did. Well, granted, it's a horror movie. Their logic is always going to be a little flawed.
Yeah.
They established enough to make it make sense.
Yeah.
Even if it didn't, it did.
Yeah.
You know, by basically, I mean, without spoiling, like they took something that can be dangerous and made it way more dangerous, but they explained why.
Well, and they also started it outside of the room where everything actually took place. So it was just like you thought once you got in that room that you'd be safe because the thing that broke was out there. And
Right.
nope.
No. Nobody was safe.
Nobody
And
was safe.
so that was super fun. We
Yeah.
also saw what may have been the first example of just vengeance killing from Death.
Yeah.
Because Death killed someone who wasn't on the list.
Yeah.
Because they were in the way
They
too
were in the
much.
way, literally.
So I thought that was pretty solid. Also, I like that there's a fake out death where you find out somebody is not meant to die from
Yeah.
this, which means that they just worked in a OSHA violation shithole, I guess.
Basically, yeah.
'Cause boy, howdy.
That place was a bit
But
crazy.
I do love the Rube Goldberg death machines.
Yeah.
But I can't help it. Every time Death starts like plotting to kill someone in Final Destination, in the back of my mind, I hear dun 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 dun. But reminds me of playing Mousetrap.
I could definitely see that. But yeah, Final Destination Bloodlines, highly recommended. It's a great close for Tony Todd's character. It's a great inclusion in the series. And like I told you when the credits were going, if this is a conclusion for it, which I guess we'll see, I'd be content with this.
I hope it does well, unlike David, who hopes it
I
flops.
hope it does well too, goddammit.
No, in particular, what they did with Tony Todd's Bloodworth character
Yeah.
was really inspired, thought out, interesting. It basically,
Really sweet.
it was sweet, and it basically gave his character an arc.
Yeah. And humanity. It gave him a lot of humanity that like we really didn't have. Because the thing with Bloodworth that we talked about last week too is just like, is he Death or is he just somebody that is aware of what's going on? And they gave us that answer in this.
Yeah, we found out exactly why he knows so
Yeah.
much, and it's not just being working in a mortuary. It's
Yeah.
beyond that.
Yeah, it's so good.
It was a really great twist. I tried not to get choked up because his character literally references being terminally ill, and
Yeah.
Tony was, which honestly, I mean, he was on death's door.
Yeah, he
And-
definitely looked that he was knocking, and his voice was definitely a little bit different too, but he still had that mentality of
he
Bloodworth.
was so emaciated. you know,
Yeah.
but so him kind of referencing like it's about going to be my time soon. I was just
Yeah.
like, but I was glad they got to give him a send off like that, because it's not like, you know, they could have come up with another Candyman movie in time. I think they when they were developing this, they looked at where Tony was
Yeah.
and said like, we're going to do something with
For
this
him.
that's going to be cool for that character.
And that's probably why he is in this. This might be a spoiler, but I think that's why he is the only character that is the alum that is back in this movie from
Yeah.
the series.
I would agree.
I think a lot of people are already dead so in the series, not in real life.
And I think that honestly, the concept with it being a family stalked by death
Yeah,
was a really nice, refreshing take on it.
it was.
So it wasn't a group of friends where like disparate friends where like, you know, some of them are closer than others and
Yeah.
some of them, it was very different in that vibe.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, the first 4 movies are friends. I don't remember the premonition of the 5th one really well. I'm really rough on the 5th one. I have not seen it in a good bit.
But the one thing they blew it on though, they should have said it on Thanksgiving or Christmas. Cause you got a family and everything.
Yeah,
Like
there is that.
part of me was like, that scene with the cookout with all the crazy Rube Goldbergs happening is
Yeah.
like, could have been at Thanksgiving.
But hey, you mentioning holidays also brings up another movie that we didn't see together, but we both saw, and that is Clown in a Cornfield.
What holiday is in? Oh, Founders Day, or was it?
It was technically Founders.
Founders-
But I mean, it's very Halloweeny. Let's be honest.
Is it? No, yeah, I caught Clown in the Cornfield day before you did.
Yep.
I caught it in the theater.
Directed by Eli Craig, who did not only Tucker and Dale versus Evil, but if anybody has not seen Little Evil on Netflix, the Adam Craig movie about the evil kid, really funny, and he also directed that.
I have not seen that.
That's a really good one.
I've heard good things. And Tucker and Dale versus Evil is one of those horror comedies that works for me.
Yeah, it's immaculate.
Like very much works for me. That being said,
I'll 2 seconds. Clown in a Cornfield is basically the story of this town that has this clown mascot.
I thought you were saying it's basically the story of this book.
This book, no. That has this clown mascot that was this corn syrup company that went bankrupt, and basically the town holds on to the idea of Friendo the Clown. Like that's their mascot for the town.
Yeah, it's the mascot of the company that built the town, basically.
And the teens in the town are harassed by or are basically looked down upon by the townspeople. They do not like the youth and everything, and then all of a sudden some of the youth starts dying.
Well, the reason they don't like the youth is they believe that they burned down
the factory.
And of course, the investigation showed it was an electrical fire.
Yeah.
And now half the town is out of work.
Yeah.
And there were a few moments in there that really, like, I did like the movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
I have my big nitpicks are with the weird tonal changes.
Same thing you and I have on this, yeah.
Because it was at first a kind of teen screams slasher movie, and I'm starting to notice something.
Mm-hmm.
If you make a it seems like if you make an honest to goodness slasher movie in today's era, I mean, like on a higher level.
Yeah. Like Hard Eyes.
Couple million, like Hard Eyes is a really good example. They really, I don't know if it's intentional or aware or if it's just coincidence, but they really come off like those early 2000s slasher movies.
They really do.
Like Sorority Row and Black Xmas and stuff like that.
The opening title card of Clown in the Cornfield just gives you everything that you know is about to happen in this movie. And if you are not with that title card, this movie's not for you.
I got a real kick out of it. And I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
It is very much a basic slasher movie.
Mm-hmm.
Some really good casting choices. I thought the lead actress, I liked her a lot. There's a thing with actors, especially with actresses, where like, there's just something sometimes that'll be like odd about them, but not in a negative way.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, this is a terrible thing, but I don't give a shit. I'm on pain medicine. Like Julia Roberts, I like to give her as an example because Julia Roberts is, well, first of all, she's one of the most beautiful women in the world.
Yeah.
She's kind of ugly. And when I say ugly, I mean like the traditional standards are you don't have big teeth or you don't have a pronounced this or that, but she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
To me, that's just somebody having really interesting beauty or whatever.
Yeah.
And that actress was very pretty. Her voice is interesting.
Katie Douglas, yeah.
And I mean that in a good way. Like, I like her voice, but there were a few times she said things. I was like, damn, she has a raspy voice. She has like a kind of oddly deep voice.
She does. Not like Tom Waits. Not like,
no.
Hey, Dad.
But I thought she was great in it. I thought she was definitely older than she was playing, but I didn't realize she was like 8 years older than she was playing. So kudos to her on that, because she did a really good job. I actually thought the dad was one of the best characters in the movie. He was just really fun. There was a part where that got me choked up where he ends up mad at his daughter and he just turns to her and says, I'm trying. And I was like, oh my God, because they basically, the basic setup is this young woman and her father moved to this little town in Missouri,
yeah, and he's recently lost his wife to an overdose,
a drug overdose, and he's a doctor.
Yes,
so he's left the emergency room and become a small town doctor, which is such a classic cliche setup for not slasher movies, just in general movies where like a lot of alien invasion or alien movies, monster movies.
Pet Sematary 2 was originally what came to mind.
Oh, well, Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
Was the small town or a big city doctor goes to a small town. Yeah. So was Arachnophobia.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a kind of a common trope. But it's not a slasher movie trope. It's just kind of a trope to have like one fish out of water.
Yeah.
A lot of those sci-fi original movies that were coming out in the late 90s and early 2000s were always like, it was either a doctor or a cop.
Yeah.
In fact, I might have confused that. That might have been, no, it was a doctor. In Arachnophobia as well. Yeah. But a lot of times it'll be that, or it'll be like the big city police chief or sheriff, or what it becomes, the small town sheriff.
Or if it's a 90s movie, the dad's an architect. That was so fucking common.
So I liked that, though. I like that touch that like he's the new doctor in this town.
Yeah.
That's horrifically economically depressed. I loved the elements with the mom, the daughter and the father. Nothing against the Clown in the Cornfield novel. I never got around to finishing it. I will finish it sometime, but I read a little over half. It's long. It's a long book.
Yeah.
And I did like it.
Yeah.
So
I've read the first two because I have the third, but I've read the first two, and they like I told you via text, they stuck to it pretty much as far as the meat and potato goes of the story. They did some really cool things that are not in the novel in the movie that I really did enjoy.
Yeah, and the book was a lot more. It was, like I said, it was a longer book, so it was a lot more expansive. There were a lot
gave
of
you a lot
deaths,
more history, a lot more deaths, and overall, it expands a lot more with Quinn, who is Katie's character that she plays in the movie, and that's what carries through the rest of the books as well. But I mean, this first entry, and I hope we get a sequel. I would really, I would love
nice.
it. Yeah,
sure.
This first entry I thought was a lot of fun. And like I said, the main critique that I had was just there was bits of comedy, like you and I said, that just it felt odd.
Yeah. So at about the halfway point, when all hell breaks loose. Spoiler alert: people get killed in this slasher movie.
Mostly teens.
Yes. But when all hell breaks loose, all of a sudden the humor before had been really on point.
Yeah.
And relatively subtle.
Yeah.
I mean, little jabs and barbs and little jokes about like small town America and Philadelphia and stuff like that. I loved all of that. Then all of a sudden it became like really jokey.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it didn't come off at all as a horror comedy until about the middle point. And even then it wasn't constant, which I appreciated.
It was just a couple entries. Yeah.
There were a few moments where like somebody would yell something.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, what?
The scene when Dad fights back was one where I was just like, this is weird.
I thought the first half of how he fought back was good, but then when he's basically cracking a joke as someone is dying, and he's a doctor, I was like, all right, that's a little hefty. Because I liked the first part, but then it got way too jokey. And there was also a part where somebody's dying and they're like, I hate you, and then the killer's like, I hate you too. And I was like, that's funny, but like, and it's wasn't weird. But it wasn't just the place of the humor, because there's a part where she basically says a line, that's a lot of friendos.
Shouts the
but
line.
She screams it to her friends, like, and all I could think was like, that line would be great if she'd like said it to her, if she'd just been like, that's a lot of friendos.
And I'm 90% sure it's in the book. I just can't remember if she does yell it in the book or if it is internal monologue. But yeah, I thought Clown in a Cornfield was a lot of fun. It's currently in theaters right now. I don't know how long it'll be in there because it seems like it's a smaller release.
Yeah, and it's doing okay. Yeah. It's made a few $1 million, which I mean, I'm assuming that movie probably cost around $1 million to make.
According to IMDb, no budget listed.
They're keeping that. They're keeping that quiet.
Yeah, but it is going to be hitting Shudder as well too, because it is a Shudder film.
It had a lot of production companies at the beginning of that one. Yes, it did. So no, but Clown in the Cornfield. All that to say, when the reason I'm picking it apart is because I enjoyed it so much. So the things that didn't work for me stick out a little bit more.
Yeah.
But overall, it was really fun. It was a slasher movie through and through.
Shout out to Will Sasso, though. I thought Sasso was great in it.
He plays the sheriff.
Yeah.
I was amped when Will Sasso walked up to the table at the diner. The first thing I did was turn to Rachel and went, that's Will Sasso.
Yeah.
And she was like, Who? Yeah, okay. And I was like, So no. See Clown in the Cornfield. If you are a horror fan, try to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
But I also want to mention, I saw a movie that is not doing very well in the theater.
Yeah.
I went to the movies a bunch recently.
You did.
I caught Fight or Flight, starring what's his name?
Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett, who had just done Trap last year, I think it was, which I really liked.
Trap's really good.
And it's about a former operative for the government who ends up on an airplane trying to capture this hacker.
Yeah.
And he finds out once the plane is in the air that the entire world found out the hacker was on that plane, and there's a $10 million bounty for the hacker. And nobody knows the name of the hacker or anything, like what they look like or anything. So they're all trying to figure out who's the hacker on this plane. But it was like, it had a little bit of a Bullet Traininess, except in Bullet Train, there's like 8 killers in a giant train. On this one, more than a third of the plane is killers.
Yeah.
And the way it opens makes it's one of those things where they do the whole, like, they show all this chaos and then it says like 6 hours earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But like the chaos, like as you're watching, you're like, okay, that's ridiculous. Okay, what are they? No, literally, because like it's not a big spoiler. It's literally the first 2 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
But like you see like people fighting. At first, you know what I thought it was? I thought it was going to be like mayhem on a plane, like a drug was going to go in the air. And I went in completely blind. I didn't know what it was about at all.
Sometimes the best way to go.
So I thought maybe it was going to be like something in the air was going to make everybody go crazy on the plane or something. But like, so they're all like fighting and like people are getting like stabbed and punching. It's all in super slow motion.
Yeah.
Then you look over, they pan over and there's like these 2 women dressed like kung fu like martial artists with like their ponytails and everything.
Yeah.
And they're like throwing kicks. And I was like, what the? And then it pans over and somebody throws a chainsaw at the crowd, and then it's like 6 hours earlier.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there alone. I was alone in the theater. I saw a 10 p.m. show on Tuesday night by myself, and I was laughing so hard I was like hearing it go reverberate in the room because I was like, ha, yes.
Yeah.
So if by some chance, when you're hearing this where you are, they still have it in the theater, go see it.
Go see it.
I wish it hadn't just gotten dumped the way it did.
Yeah.
Because it was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened, why it didn't get a real boost. Like, I literally found out the movie existed when I was looking to see what was showing.
That happens
I'd never seen a
sometimes.
trailer at all or
Yeah.
anything. But that blows my mind because we go to the movies like almost always, every week.
Yeah.
We nearly always go to the movies. How do we miss a trailer?
I do not know.
Because it's not like it was a trailer for like a little kids movie because we were only seeing horror movies. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a bloody, violent action movie, and all we were seeing were bloody, violent action type movies. But yeah, I really want to put that out into the ether that,
Yeah.
like, if you have a chance, go see Fight or Flight.
I'm
It was
gonna have to.
really great. And Josh Hartnett, really underutilized. Like, this movie showed me, wow, he's capable of a lot of great. I mean, I've always liked him.
Yeah.
But man, he's good.
Yeah.
He's really, really good.
No, I'm very excited to check that out. So,
No,
too late.
damn it.
Carrie from 1976.
Oh, what about Carrie?
1 hour, 38 minutes, rated R for intense horror violence, mature themes involving teens, graphic nudity, language, and some drug use.
And plugging it up.
And plugging it up. IMDb synopsis says, Carrie White, a shy, friendless teenage girl who is sheltered by her domineering religious mother, unleashes her telekinetic powers after being humiliated by her classmates at senior prom.
I think that's pretty much it. I
Yeah.
mean, like, it's a little overly detailed almost.
Abused by her fanatically religious mother at home, ridiculed by bullies at school, Carrie White finds a new telekinetic power she possesses once a prank pushes her too far with deadly consequences for those involved.
Pretty solid too.
Taglines. Oh, we got some.
Well, this is what 76.
Yes.
Okay. I like to contextualize,
Yeah.
like, because marketing was very different in the 70s than even 4 or 5 years later in the 80s.
Yeah.
Then especially the 90s to now.
Well, and if
stuff.
you watch the trailer that we had at the beginning of the show as well, all the trailers are just like, if you like fear, you have a date with Carrie. Like, the date with Carrie was one of the biggest things. So
That's clever. I like that.
yeah. Taglines. You were warned to never push Carrie to the limits. Now you must face the evil consequences.
I mean, like I said, it's a different era.
Yeah.
Things were not quite so snappy all the time. And
Yeah.
also, Carrie had the power of being based on a very successful book.
His very first successful book, which I'll get into.
Yeah.
Take Carrie to the prom. I dare you.
That's a great time.
I like that one. Carrie may look perfectly innocent, but she'll shock you right out of your seat, and that's a promise.
I like that's a little cheesy, but I like that.
A chilling blend of American Graffiti and Psycho.
The fuck?
The story of a lonely teenage girl who possesses a strange and evil power that turns high school prom into a nightmare.
Okay. That's almost a synopsis more than a tagline.
The bone-chilling classic based on the novel by Stephen King.
Never heard of it.
You will know her name.
That's a good one.
I like that one. If you've got a taste for terror, take Carrie to the prom.
That one's all right too.
If only they knew she had the power.
I like that one.
If you've got a taste for terror, then you have a date with Carrie.
It's almost the same thing.
If The Exorcist made you shudder, Carrie will make you scream.
That's good.
I like that one.
That's a really solid one, especially because you've got two big movies based on big books.
Yeah.
So actually, that's a really good one.
Solid.
You know, that's a solid way to reference something that people liked. They weren't the same studio, I don't think. Or were they?
No, The Exorcist was Warner Brothers and Carrie is Paramount?
I think you're right.
Yeah. Carrie is currently available to stream on Max and rentable through Prime and Fandango right now. Our director and one of the writers on the film is Mr. Brian De Palma. Writer and director on Murder a la Mode in 1968, Greetings in 68, The Wedding Party 69, Hi Mom 1970, Sisters in 72, Phantom of the Paradise 74, Obsession 76, Home Movie 79, Dressed to Kill 1980, Blowout 81, Body Double 84, Raising Cain 92, Snake Eyes 98, Femme Fatale 2002, Sisters remake in 2006, Redacted 2007, and Passion in 2012. He also is the director in 1972 on Get to Know Your Rabbit, Carrie in 76, The Fury in 78, Scarface in 83, Frankie Goes to Hollywood video for Relax in 84, Wise Guys in 86, The Untouchables in 87, Casualties of War in 89, Bonfire of the Vanities in 1990, Carlito's Way in 93, better than Scarface in my opinion. Mission Impossible in 96, Mission to Mars 2000, Black Dahlia 2006, and Domino in 2009.
Carrie was United Artists.
United Artists.
So now they're MGM.
Yeah, MGM, yep. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were close enough.
Close enough. Writer on the film as well for the novel is Mr. Stevie King. He gets his start with Carrie as a writer in 1976. Goes on to do Salem's Lot, The Shining, Creepshow, Cujo, The Dead Zone, Christine, Children of the Corn, Firestarter, Cat's Eye, Silver Bullet, Maximum Overdrive, Stand By Me, Creepshow 2, Return to Salem's Lot, Running Man, Pet Sematary, Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, Graveyard Shift, It, Misery, Sometimes They Come Back, Golden Years, The Lawnmower Man, Sleepwalkers, The Dark Half, Tommy Knockers, Needful Things, The Stand, Shawshank Redemption, The Mangler, Dolores Claiborne, Langoliers, Thinner, Quicksilver Highway, The Night Flyer, The Shining, Trucks, Apt Pupil, Storm of the Century, Rage, Carrie 2, Green Mile, Hearts in Atlantis, Rose Red, Carrie, Dreamcatcher, Secret Window, Salem's Lot, Kingdom Hospital, Riding the Bullet, Desperation, Nightmares and Dreamscapes, The Mist in 2007. I'm stopping at 2007, 1408 as well.
So first of all, I'm on pain medicine.
Yeah. And
you just spoke the fastest I think I've ever heard you speak.
Probably.
So number one, did he actually have anything to do with Carrie 2 other than characters?
Characters.
So was that one in Lawnmower Man you just being a dick?
Yeah, I mean, there's several in there, me being a dick. A lot of them.
Well, Lawnmower Man was supposed to be based on a short story, but they didn't use it.
There is apparently, from what I found on IMDb, I don't know how widely available it is, but there is a 20-minute short that came out like 5 years after that short story.
That was one of his, like, what were they called? Dollar Babies? Or,
yeah, Dollar Babies.
Where Stephen King, I think he still does this, will option his short stories to film students
yep.
for $1, I believe it is. So you send Steve King $1 and you have the right to make your college short based on it. And I've heard that it's pretty good for
what
college
it is,
short. Yeah.
Other writer on the film is Lawrence D. Cohen. He gets to start writing Carrie in 1976. He pens the screenplay, then does Ghost Story in 81. Have you seen Ghost Story, by the way, based on the Peter Straub novel?
Oh, yeah. I like
that
Ghost
movie
Story.
is fucking wild.
It's a good one.
It in 1990, he does the teleplay for.
Oh, okay.
The Tommy Knockers in 93 does the teleplay for. South Pacific in 2001, Nightmares and Dreamscapes 2006, the Carrie remake, he gets screenplay credit for in 2013, and most recently in 2018, Riverdale.
So in the realm of Stephen King adaptations, I grew up in a time where that was very commonly like the tape my mom would grab because she knew that name.
Yeah.
So I saw it, the double tape. I remember we rented that from the library. I remember that.
Do you remember if it was the classic cover that has the novel with the claw coming up, or if it was Pennywise on it?
I think I had Pennywise on it.
Yeah, that's the re-release.
But we're talking a long time ago.
Yeah.
We're talking like this was like right when the tapes came out.
Yeah.
Roughly. But I wanted to mention, so they were just like, I have a very soft spot for like sometimes they come back, sometimes they come back again, sometimes they come back for more.
Great ones.
I have a very soft spot for Golden Years. I have a very soft spot for
Cat's Eye is one of my all-time favorites.
Cat's Eye is a good one. But I want to mention real quick, I think, and I'm not 100% willing to like forever this, but I think my favorite De Palma is Blowout.
Blowout's fantastic.
I think that is such a phenomenal film.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if the reason he cast Travolta was they got to know each other on Carrie, because
I can see that.
Travolta's great in Carrie, but it's very early in his career.
Yeah.
So he's, playing a like fourth banana.
There's probably a good chance that several De Palmas will hit this show at some point, especially Carlito's Way, because I could talk at length.
I always forget he did that one.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, because I love De Palma's stylistic elements, and we'll talk about that a lot in here.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Really, really do. But I'm glad he's not like a Tim Burton where I struggle to remember what movie I'm thinking of, or a more modern, like a Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Where like, I'm sorry, like I struggle, like, was that Bottle Rocket or was that the Royal Tenenbaums or was that the Life Aquatic? I don't, like, they all look so similar and have such similar casts a lot of the time.
Yep.
It doesn't mean they're not entertaining movies, but
absolutely.
like, but it does, like, sometimes it frustrates me. I literally am like, I couldn't tell you what movie that was from. Like, I'll quote it and laugh, and they'll be like, which one was that?
So our cinematographer on the film is Mario Tassi. He gets his start in 1964 as a DP on How to Succeed with Girls, goes on to do Cinderella and the Golden Bra in 64, Swamp Country in 66, The Glory Stompers, Terror in the Jungle, Hot Rod Action, Legend of Horror.
Stompers
The
is
Glory
a dope
Stompers.
name.
Then in 1972, he shoots a little film called Frogs. Cinematographer of Frogs shot Carrie.
Whoa. But like in 72, so like 4 years later, he's like,
Yeah.
De Palma is like, let's do this.
So then he shoots Frogs in 72, Outside In 72, The Marcus Nelson Murders in 73, The Killing Kind, Some Call It Loving, A Summer Without Boys, The Stranger Who Looks Like Me, Buster and Billy in 74, Reflections of a Murder in 74, Reports of the Commissioner, Smoke in the Wind, Friendly Persuasion, Hearts of the West, does Carrie in 76, then goes on to shoot Sybil in 76.
Oh, wow.
MacArthur in 77, The Betsy, Main Event, The Stuntman in 1980 with Steve Railsback. Have you ever seen that?
I don't know, but that,
Steve
it sounds
Railsback
awesome.
plays a convict that stumbles upon a movie set and volunteers to be a stuntman to avoid the law.
That has to be based on a true story, because stuntmen back in those days, it was like it was like pro wrestlers and stuntmen and stuff, and they were all like kind of almost carnies.
Yeah.
They just kind of found work that wasn't in the straight world. So
O'Toole knows who he is, puts him through hell.
that
It's-
also sounds like show business.
It's a really good flick.
That sounds great.
Resurrection in 1980, Coast to Coast 1980, Whose Life Is It Anyway in 81, Six Pack in 82 with Kenny Rogers. Then his final entry is a Sheena Easton video for Eternity in 87. He passed November 11th, 2021 at age 86. Death cause was undisclosed.
Wow, he retired really early.
Yeah.
Well, I feel bad for him because he never worked for De Palma again.
No.
Which is shocking.
Yeah.
Did De Palma have a go-to DP? I mean, off the
He
top of your head, I'm
did,
not like,
yeah, he did. I can't remember who it was because, yeah, there's somebody in here that he does use repeatedly. Not in here, but there's somebody that he did use repeatedly. And also, Mario was the second hired because the original cinematographer was Isidore Matfosky, but he and De Palma had creative issues and split.
I was about to say that De Palma's obsession with visuals,
Yeah.
I'm sure could be very challenging.
Oh, yeah.
Because the dichotomy between director and director of photography is something I've never had to really struggle with because I'm my own director of photography, which is nice because you have a shorthand in your own brain. You know, you don't have to sit there and be like, could we try this lens? Could we do this or that?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I know what I'm going to do. And that's one of the things I like, I hate when people bitch about like Soderbergh or bitch about Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Like, because he likes to DP his own stuff, but the studios like wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
So it became where he would be the camera op, which I also always respect about Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Was that he'd be like, well, I have to operate the camera because like that's how I feel like I'm in the moment making the movie is that I'm like on the camera.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
I can too.
And I love that Soderbergh just flat out has a fake name he uses, and he's like, that's my fake name
That's
for
my fake
DPing
name.
because I DP all my own movies.
Yep.
And I saw, you need to watch Black Bag now that it's
Yeah, I
on
need
streaming
to.
because I really loved Black Bag. But the weird thing about that was people were like, the photography was really a weird choice. And I watched it, I was like, this looks cool. There was like one scene where I could tell he was intentionally breaking the line.
Yeah.
Which is the eye line.
Yeah.
And the scene is really kind of kinetic and confusing on purpose. It's not, I mean, it's a dialogue scene. It's not an action scene.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. I was like, man, this is cool.
That is.
So I just want to mention that, like, I can only imagine what it would be like to be De Palma's DP.
Oh, yeah.
Because De Palma's over there, like, he has a very specific idea of what to do with lenses. He's very into split diopter photography. He's very into doing split screens and things like that. And that's all stuff that you really have to plan heavily. I mean, I've worked with a split diopter a few times, and I'll talk about it more when we're kind of like talking about some of the great shots in the film.
Yeah.
There are plenty of them. But it's a tough lens to use. Granted, I use it on like short schedule movies too.
Yeah.
So it's like the fact that you have to move everything to line it up is
Christmas
rough.
presents, was that the first time you used it? Because I feel like that's when you showed it to all of us.
Well, I discovered something, David. For years and years and years, I always heard about split diopter this, split diopter that. What actually made me aware of split diopters was I was watching some piece of media about Star Trek, Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of episodes, especially the later run, where people use split diopter lenses, which then I realized they use them like crazy in Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Oh, I can
because they had
believe that.
all these scenes where people were far apart, but they're all talking to each other. They actually created a diopter that was in the middle of the frame so somebody could be in the middle up close.
Oh, wow.
So what a split diopter is, just to run it down real quick, is it allows you to have something in focus in the foreground and in the background at the same time.
Yeah.
So you could have somebody's face right up to the lens, fully in focus, and there's a little split you hopefully can't see, and then you could have somebody in focus way in the background. It creates an odd but gorgeous kind of sense.
Makes sense.
But I'd always heard split diopter this, split diopter that, and I'd always heard how annoying they were to work with, and I'd always heard how they could be very challenging, blah, blah, blah. Well, one day I found out as movies started being shot on digital photo cameras and stuff, people were using interchangeable lenses. They were using different types of lenses, but they accomplished the same things as a cinema lens.
Yeah.
So I was poking around one day and I found this thing called a split field adapter. And I was like, what the hell is a split field adapter? So I looked at all the tutorials. It's a split diopter. It's just, that's what they call it in photography. I bought one for like $11. I have literally a whole kit of different diopters that are just split field adapters in my camera bag just in case.
Just in case.
I feel like it.
Yeah.
Like, but I had been told forever, like, this is a big thing and this is, you have to have all these things and you have to have all this stuff. And I was like, that's weird because photographers just screwed them on the front of their damn lenses.
Yeah.
So split field adapter, you can buy those for dirt cheap. and yeah. So anyway, but it's an interesting concept in cinematography.
Absolutely is.
But yeah, De Palma loves his interesting shots.
He knows what he wants and he knows how to get it.
Yeah, by firing people.
That is very true.
Apparently.
So normally I'm not one to bring up the music on the show, but I've got to give props to this composer because this is Pino Donaggio. And Pino Donaggio, Pino Donaggio gets his
start. Go with fish or red meat?
Gets his start on a little movie that I actually discovered about a year ago now, 1973's Don't Look Now with Donald Sutherland.
Oh,
that's his first time scoring. But then he goes on to do Carrie in 76, Piranha, Tourist Trap.
That's where Piranha's where I know that name.
Yeah.
I'd heard it before. It was on Piranha. So what was it? Tourist Trap?
Tourist Trap. Yeah.
And Tourist Trap.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dress to Kill. He also did The Black Cat, The Fan, Blowout, Beyond the Door, Body Double, Berlin Affair, Savage Dawn, Crawl Space.
Doing Beyond the Door. And then what was the one after that?
Beyond the Door was Body Double?
Body Double.
Yeah, Body
That's
Double.
my point. It's like,
yeah.
Those are very a different world apart.
Also, Canon Hercules with Lou Ferrigno.
That's what's up.
But yeah, Pino Donaggio's score in this movie especially is so memorable that when I was watching yesterday and it started playing the scene when Carrie's mom is coming at her in the house, I was just like, holy shit, I remember this theme because it's so really haunting and so really beautiful at the same time.
And I have a bunch of opinions about that scene after rewatching it.
Oh,
so
can't wait.
We'll see if I remember them.
We'll see.
If hopefully the pain medicine wears off, except I hope it doesn't because I don't want to scream in pain the whole show.
Oh, moving down to our cast, we have Sissy Spacek, who plays Carrie White in the film, gets her start in a little film from 1972 called Prime Cut.
Oh, yeah.
That is her first movie. Film. Yeah, introducing Sissy Spacek. So does Prime Cut in 72, Love American Style in 69, or actually, wait, Love American Style in 69, 72? No. I might have fucked that up. Either way. Walton's in 73, Badlands 73, The Migrant, Ginger in the Morning, Catherine, Carrie in 76, Welcome to LA, followed by Three Women, Coal Miner's Daughter, Heartbeat, Raggedy Man, Man with Two Brains, The River, Marie in 85, Violets Are Blue, Crimes of the Heart, Hard Promises in 91, JFK in 91, Trading Mom, A Place for Annie, The Grass Harp, Streets of Laredo, If These Walls Could Talk, Affliction, Blast from the Past, The Straight Story in 99, In the Bedroom, Midwives, Last Call, Tuck Everlasting, 9 Lives, The Ring 2 in 2005.
Yeah.
North Country, An American Haunting, Hot Rod 2007, Lake City, The Four Christmases, Get Low, Big Love in 2010.
Yeah, I loved her character in Big Love.
Yeah, The Help in 2011, Deadfall, The Old Man and the Gun, Castle Rock in 2018, Homecoming in 2018, Night Sky in 2022, and most recently this year, Dying for Sex in 2025.
Haven't seen that one.
I have not either.
It might not be out yet. We're getting close to halfway through the year.
We are. Piper Laurie, who plays Margaret White in the film, who is one of the two that we are dedicating this episode to because we had two people that have fallen since we have started doing May We Rest in Peace. Piper Laurie was back in 2023, but we wanted to originally include her as to be the reason for the listener request, but we actually did have another person. But Piper Laurie, who plays Margaret White, gets her start in 1950 on Louisa, The Milkman in 50, Francis Goes to the Races, Has Anybody Seen My Gal, The Mississippi Gambler, Johnny Johnny Dark in 54, Donna Sirocco, Ain't Misbehavin', Kelly and Me, Until They Sail, Playhouse 90 in 56, The Hustler, Naked City, Breaking Point in 63, and then she retires from acting. It wasn't until she got the screenplay in 76 for Carrie that she decided to come back. So she does Carrie in 76, Ruby, The Boss's Son, Tim, The Bunker, Mae West, The Thornbirds, Saint Elsewhere, Hotel, Murder, She Wrote in 84, Return to Oz in 85, Tender is the Night, Tough Love, The Twilight Zone, Children of a Lesser God, Matlock, Promise, Appointment with Death, Tiger Warsaw, Mother, Beauty and the Beast, Dream a Little Dream in 89, Twin Peaks in 89, Other People's Money, Rich in Love, Dario Argento's Trauma in 93, Lies and Lullabies, Shadow of Desire, The Crossing Guard, The Grass Harp, ER, Diagnosis Murder, Touched by an Angel, Christmas Memory, The Faculty in 97.
Yes.
Or 98.
Oh, she's so good in that.
So good in The Faculty. Frasier, Inherit the Wind, Will and Grace, Eulogy, Dead Like Me, The Dead Girl, Hesher, Bad Blood, Snapshots, White Boy Rick in 2018, and 2021 she does Around the Sun. She passed back in October 14th of 2023, 91 of old age.
Oh, 91.
91.
Now, that's wild. I didn't know that she had retired.
She had
and
retired.
then Carrie brought her out. But Carrie didn't just bring her out of retirement. I mean, it brought her back to a full-blown career.
So I will talk about it in the trivia, but she thought it was a comedy. So originally when she was shooting her scenes as the mother, she was going even more outrageous. And De Palma had to pull her aside and be like, Piper, this isn't a comedy. Like, you're a terrifying character. Like, you can be over the top, but like, you have to be over the top, restrained as somebody that is mentally unwell.
Wait, Carrie's not a comedy? Then why do they bully the nerds so bad? I mean, that's good. It's good.
So moving down, we also have Amy Irving, who plays Sue Snell in the film. She gets her start in 75 in The Rookies, goes on to do Policewoman in 75, Happy Days, Panache, Carrie in 76, Once an Eagle, The Fury in 78, Voices, Honeysuckle Rose, The Competition, Yentl in 83, Mickey and Maude, Rumpelstiltskin, not that one. She's Having a Baby in 88.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Crossing Delancey, The Velveteen Rabbit, Casualties of War, A Show of Force, An American Tale, Five Goes West, Benefit of Doubt, Kleptomania, Carried Away, I'm Not Rappaport, Deconstructing Harry, One Tough Cop, The Confession, Rage, Carrie 2 in 99, Spin City, Bossa Nova, Cop, Traffic, 13 Confessions About One Thing, Law and Order SVU, Tuck Everlasting, Hide and Seek, Alias, Adam, House, 0 Hour, The Good Wife in 2015, Unsane, speaking of Soderbergh in 2018.
Oh, yeah. I liked Unsane.
Unsane
I need to revisit that.
It was good. The Affair in 2018, Confetti in 2021, and A Mouthful of Air in 2021. And then wrapping us up cast-wise is the person that we lost recently, which was Priscilla Pointer, who plays Mrs. Snell, which is Sue Snell's mom in the movie. She gets her start in 1954 with The New Adventures of China Smith, goes on to do NYPD, The High Chaparral, The Name of the Game, Death Takes a Holiday in 71, McCloud, Where the Heart Is, Adam 12, Camera 3, Rockford Files, Kojak, Cannon, Harry O, Policewoman, City of Angels, The Great Texas Dynamite Chase, Phyllis, Carrie in 76, Nickelodeon 76, Barnaby Jones, 3,000 Mile Chase, A Killing Affair, Looking for Mr. Goodbar, Mrs. Columbo, The Onion Field, Knots Landing, From Here to Eternity, Honeysuckle Rose, The Competition, Lou Grant, Mommy Dearest, Judgment Day, Mysterious 2, Goodbye Cruel World, Dallas, Quincy M.E., The A-Team, Twilight Zone the movie in 83.
Okay.
She is in the Kick the Can segment.
I love that segment.
Such a good segment.
I always forget that's in Twilight Zone the movie, because that's, you know what, that always made me think of Amazing Stories.
Exactly.
The Kick the Can episode.
Yeah.
Okay. Or the segment. Yeah.
Saint Elsewhere in 84, Mickey and Maude, Falcon and the Snowman, Call to Glory, Blue Velvet, Amazing Stories, From the Hip in 87. Then in 87, she also does Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Yes, that's where when I saw her in this movie, I immediately was like, oh yeah. Do you remember when they interviewed her about her role in that?
I don't.
I believe it was, they interviewed
Never
her.
Sleep Again? Yeah.
They interviewed her and she was just like Adam. She was like, my character was a good guy.
Yeah.
My character was legitimately looking out for those children, and everything that was being told to her was insane. And I love how she was like still in that headspace of like, because she played the character very well. She never came across as needlessly cruel.
No.
Although she did literally say like, what these kids need is some good REM sleep.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's the problem.
That is how they go.
Then again, if there was no problem, there'd be no movie. So
Yeah.
there you have it.
So also in that same year does Rumpelstiltskin, Rags to Riches, Newhart, L.A. Law, Chud 2, Bud the Chud
Now, when
in
you say
89.
Rumpelstiltskin, though,
Not that one.
No.
Runaway, or excuse me, Cry for Help.
She was in Chud 2?
Yeah.
Bud the Chud?
Bud the Chud.
Bud. Chud.
Show of Force, The Flash, My Life in Times, Runaway Father, The Painted Desert, ER, Picket Fences, Touched by an Angel, Carried Away, Desert Heat was Jean-Claude Van Damme in 99.
Hell yeah.
Judging Amy, Cold Case, Sweet Nothing in My Ear, and then she unfortunately left us, was April 28th of this year. Old age, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a long, storied career.
Interesting thing, her and Amy Irving, mother and daughter.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Amy Irving?
Who plays Sue? Real life mother and daughter in the movie.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I just want to, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Because there's some trivia that I'll get into at the end of the show about one scene in particular where she forgot that was her daughter.
I'm curious.
Oh, we'll get there. Don't worry. So what was your first time watching Carrie?
I couldn't completely tell you.
Yeah.
Because it was a ubiquitous horror movie. It was, by the time I was, watching movies a lot.
Yeah.
As a young man, very young man, it was ubiquitous on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone talked about it. It got put on DVD right at the beginning of DVD. So I
Yep.
remember renting it on DVD at some point.
Had a snapcase, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember it being on television a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember finding it pretty scary. And I wish I could really remember watching it on TV, like on 4x3 TV, because it was a De Palma movie with all these crazy. I might have seen it on Monster Vision.
I could believe that. I could absolutely believe
That might have been one. That might have been the first time I watched it all the way through. Might have been on Monster Vision.
Yeah.
And
I bet we could find the countdown or the drive-in totals.
It's always been just a ubiquitous part of horror history that Carrie is a scary movie. It's brilliantly directed. Sissy Spacek is incredible,
phenomenal
as Carrie.
Yeah.
That was a career, establishing film for her. And it's one of those movies that my memory of it, maybe because I first saw it on television, is not that accurate compared to when I revisit it. I'm like, man, this movie's meaner than I remember. There's a lot of nakedness.
Yeah.
And
especially in the opening.
And I want to talk about that when we start up, because I think the opening is so clever.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a movie that just always existed.
Oh yeah.
And I feel that way about a lot of classics if they're like earlier than 1980, because, really noticing movies for me would have been 1990, 91, 92.
Yeah.
I was really into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. I was really into Terminator. Those things were just hitting, but there were a lot of movies that were just always around,
Always
and
on.
Carrie was there.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same thing for me. This is like I said at the top of the show, rewatching this last night opened up a part of my brain of really deep diving into how long this movie's been in my life. And it's been in there a long time, because Carrie was introduced to me by my parents because it was on TV. And naturally I would watch TV with my parents, and like if something, was coming on, the movie that wasn't good, they would either change the channel or like tell me to hide my eyes. I remember distinctly my parents both sharing with me how much Carrie scared them when they saw it in theaters. My dad, born in 1960, so he would have been like right around 16 when it came out, is not a horror fan by any, you know this. Like, my dad's not a horror fan by any stretch of the imagination, but there are two movies to this day that I can still get him to watch, which is Carrie and Jaws. And both of those movies, my parents both have stories about seeing in the theater, specifically with the ending of Carrie, which, is not a spoiler at this point. That hand coming out of the grave at the end is a notoriously like top scary moment in movie history still to this day.
And didn't no one but the studio want it, if I remember correctly?
Yeah. It was,
but
that
it was
final
smart
scare.
to end on a big shock.
Yeah. So, I mean, Carrie was a movie that, like you said, it was always on TV. So it was my first introduction, I would say, into horror, because of just, it was one that I remember my parents watching, not all the time, but if it was on TV, there was a good chance that it would get popped on, especially if it was towards the end with the prom and everything.
Yeah.
But it was a movie that made me not only take notice of movies in general, but like, I started learning who the actors were. I started learning more about Brian De Palma, and like my mom would like tell me about some of his movies, like specifically like Dressed to Kill and like Body Double. Of course, when I was told about these movies, couldn't see them at that point.
Of course, yeah.
But the curiosity built there, and then it was just the idea of the movie itself, just all building up to that prom scene, and that prom scene being absolutely violent and grotesque and scary, like just legitimately scary.
And when you get older, you realize really tragic.
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean,
very tragic.
And then you just get into the more point of it, of just the fact that like this was a movie that my parents showed their young son probably before they should have. But I mean, at the same time, it is what it is. But this movie has been cemented in my life to a point that I didn't realize how much I loved it until I was watching it, because it also introduced me to the world of Stephen King. And I mean, this was the gateway to horror for me. I've often said that 1930s Bela Lugosi Dracula is my gateway, because my mom got me that VHS when they did those re-releases and brought that home to me.
Sure.
But Carrie, I think, is the one that really expanded it, because I was interested in Sissy Spacek and learning more about her. I remember always thinking of Piper Laurie as being the crazy woman. So, watching, Dario Argento's Trauma or rewatching Twin Peaks recently, she's a really good actress for one.
Oh, phenomenal. Well, you don't have that incredible career. Yeah. I mean, the fact that if you started her career at Carrie, she had an incredible career.
Well, what's hilarious is I was talking to our friend Celise about this, is it was so weird having watched Twin Peaks with her recently, because she's older in that, obviously, because that was 89. But I've actually seen her more in like The Faculty and like Twin Peaks, like later in her career than I have seen her younger. So it's kind of a shock seeing her younger in this. So, but yeah, I mean, this movie has been a staple of my life. It gave me the gateway into horror. It allowed me to learn more into who Stephen King was. And it's a movie that everybody knows. The pop culture has been super kind to this movie. I remember when everybody was doing the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, Dave Grohl did a Carrie for his ice bucket thing. Like, it was basically, they basically did the whole Prom recreation with the water falling on him as his. So, I mean, it's through pop culture entirely. And I mean, it's a really important movie, not just for the cinematic elements of it, but just in regards of its place in horror history in general.
Well, and not just as a film, but as the first Stephen King hit that then became a hit film. Yeah. So it cemented Stephen King in horror cinema. Yeah. Cemented Stephen King in horror in general.
His first novel, his first movie. I mean, there's an interview that I read when I was doing some research, he was just like, yeah, I got Carrie out, and then I was just like, well, this will be the only success I have. So then I put Salem's Lot back on the shelf, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, to think about that in this extent of actually what happened from this movie.
No, makes sense.
So, you ready to get into it?
Sure.
All right. So we open with a shot of high school girls that are playing volleyball. We see that one of them is in the back is Carrie, and everybody is like, get to Carrie. Like, she'll miss it. We can win. And sure enough, Carrie misses the volleyball. And we get a sense immediately that Carrie is not liked by the rest of the class.
No, which is weird, because, usually the one class where everybody treats the odd one nicely is gym class.
Yeah. And not to mention in our cast of Mean Girls, we have PJ Souls, who plays Norma.
Famous for Rock and Roll High School and Halloween.
Nancy Allen, who plays Chris.
Famous for
RoboCop, Dressed to Kill. Yeah.
And she's phenomenal in this.
Yeah. And then Amy Irving, who is kind of a mean girl, but then comes around, I guess. Like, she rolls with that crowd, but then doesn't really want to.
Yeah, she's kind of the odd... She's kind of the black sheep of popular girls in the film, So
Carrie misses it, and they all get dismissed to go hit the showers, and that's when we get our opening title card of Carrie as we are in this high school locker room.
And the reason this sequence is great is because this is the time to establish the tone of the film.
Yeah.
We get this lingering, gratuitous, all slow-mo of all these young girls showering, and there's naked as jaybirds,
full frontal,
everywhere, running around in slow-mo. The music is very soft and cutesy. It kind of almost felt like that was where horror was going. It was a lot more gratuitous nudity at that point. It's kind of funny, though, because as they're running around and being young and naked and free and carefree, we see Carrie, and she's taking a shower, and she's enjoying herself. She's enjoying the hot water. She's soaping herself. Again, very gratuitous. Yeah. Very, like, eyeing a young woman. Yeah. And then as she goes past her thigh and comes back up, there's blood.
There's blood.
And I think that is an incredible... not only symbolism of what blood would come later, but also it's such a great rug pull where we go from this cute moment that would be fluff in any other movie. Yeah. And then it's like, well, actually, Carrie gets her period for the first time. Because of her mother being extremely religious, she doesn't know what it is.
Has no idea. Starts freaking out immediately.
She thinks she's dying.
Yeah.
And the girls react like any kindly high school girls and start making fun of her, yelling, plug it up, plug it up.
And not to mention, when Carrie approaches them, she's freaking out to the point that she's actually like touching them, like, help me. And also like has the blood, and they're like, oh God, you get that off me. And then I think it's Chris, rips like the door off the tampon machine and just hands them out to all the girls, and they just start throwing them at her.
And I want to say, so years ago, I had this girlfriend who just, through the unluck of the draw, she went through puberty starting at 9.
Oh, wow.
Very young for a woman.
Yeah.
And she thought she was dying.
Yeah.
Because she hadn't even gotten to, like, it was another year, and then they were going to tell them about it ahead of time.
Yeah.
I remember when they separated the boys and the girls to go learn about puberty, and we were like 10 years old.
Just around the corner.
What was that?
That was the song we had on our video.
Did they give you a half stick of Old Spice, like the little travel?
No.
They didn't give you any deodorant?
I don't believe so.
Is that why you still stink to this very day?
I have deodorant in my bag right now at your house, so fuck you right now.
Well, I keep deodorant in my house too.
Oh,
So
this is my deodorant.
But no, they literally, it was like they gave us a little stick of deodorant and maybe a couple other things. The boys, I don't know. They probably gave the girls like tampons or pads or whatever. I knew about, women's menstrual cycle very young because I lived in a house full of women.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I remember this is so weird, but like I remember the first time I saw like something bloody in the trash can, and I was like,
yeah.
And I was just like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
And my stepdad just like looked over. He was like, nothing to worry about. That's a Kotex. And I was like, what's a Kotex? He was like, this is all. It was like every month women bleed.
Yeah.
And they use that so that it doesn't get everywhere. And I was like, oh, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. And I was probably 6.
Yeah.
So I knew for a really long time that women bleed every month.
Yeah.
No other context.
Yeah.
And that it was fine.
Yeah.
And that they used Kotex. And forever, to this day, I struggle not to say Kotex like you say Kleenex for tissues.
Yeah.
Because he gave me like the nomenclature of like when he grew up in the 70s.
Makes sense.
Where they always called it a Kotex.
Yeah.
Now most people call them pads.
Well, I think they even say Kotex in the movie, actually.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he probably was, he would have been in high school like 3 years before this movie.
Yeah.
He probably would have graduated at that point. So yeah. So just a funny little side note, because I grew up around women. So I had to find out about that pretty early on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember, hearing that story from my first girlfriend was telling me that she started at 9 years old. And so she was terrified. She ran to her mom, was like, what do I do? What do I do? And her mom was like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Because they were all like, but she said that the worst part about that whole experience was that her mom was like, well, this is a normal thing. And she was like, okay, why are you calling the doctor immediately after you tell me it's a normal thing?
Yeah.
Like, because they did want to make sure she was okay. Because she was very young to be going through puberty. And I could only imagine, though, being like, it's fine. It's fine. When can we come in to see the doctor? This is normal and natural. Tomorrow, I guess tomorrow I'll have to do. You're fine.
Yeah.
So, but it's also, there's so much story accomplished by this sequence. We find out how cruel these girls can be. We find out how kind of disconnected Carrie is, because she should have found out about periods just from having friends.
Yeah.
But she has no friends.
She has no friends.
And her mother is very religious, so didn't want her learning sexual education, doesn't want to talk about those things. So it's just
chaos.
It's total chaos.
Total chaos.
And it's a very woman trauma.
Yeah.
That I think is depicted really well, considering it's based on a book written by a man, directed by a director that is a man.
Yeah.
But I think it's very fair
Yeah.
to how scary and challenging that whole situation could be.
Absolutely. And it sets the tone for the movie right away, too, because we also have Miss Collins, who's the gym teacher, intervene, and she is pissed because she sees what's going on and everything, and then also realizes that, like, the girls are not helping the situation, and also now she's got a traumatic Carrie to deal with.
And I've always had a soft spot for movies where teachers, faculty people witness bullying and don't want it happening.
Yeah.
Because that didn't happen a lot when I was growing up. So I always have a soft spot for that when like a teacher is clearly like, I see what's going on here. Cut it the fuck out.
Yeah, no,
like
exactly.
I was your age not that long ago.
Yeah.
Stop being shitheads. And when she dresses down the girls a little bit later, not even
So
that much
good.
later, basically tells them like, if I hear anything else like this, I'm going to rescind your prom tickets.
Yep.
Which is great. She knows these girls are all so obsessed with status.
Yeah.
And also there's that whole sequence where it's during the same scene where she like asks them who they're going to the prom with to make it clear it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like she's just like, no, who was it? Who was it? Oh, lucky him. Like she's just like, it's just like everything you care about is stupid to me.
Well, not to mention, too, one of the other girls that I forgot to mention in the cast is the great Edie McClurg, a very young Edie McClurg playing Helen.
I had to look her up because I was like, I know that woman.
You're fucked.
Oh, so good.
So she consoles Carrie, and she's also talking to the principal, and she's just like, the principal is just like, well, what do we do? And she's like, I think we should just go ahead and dismiss her for the rest of the day and everything. And he's like, and she's like, I can't believe her mom didn't talk to her about this.
But then he's also like, but we can't intervene because that's their religious freedom. That's their right to, if she doesn't want us to talk to her about that, that's their choice.
Yeah.
But he also keeps calling her Cassie.
Keeps calling her Cassie because they bring Carrie in and he calls her Cassie no less than 3 times. And also while this is going on, I think Collins as well as the principal are both smoking cigarettes. And we start to see a little bit because the only tease that we get of the power in the locker room is a light breaks.
Yeah. When
they all are ganging up on her and the teacher comes in, there's a light that shatters above them. That's the first thing we get of her powers.
Yeah.
Whereas in the office, when he keeps calling her Cassie and he's like, you're welcome to go home. You're dismissed for the rest of the day. And Collins is like, you don't have to worry about PE. Go ahead and take a study hall for the rest of the week. He's like, I'm really sorry about this, Cassie. And she goes, it's Carrie. And the ashtray just shatters as it hits the floor, flying off the desk.
And it's again, no wasted motion. This is the moment we start to realize that Carrie has some kind of, psychokinetic ability.
Yeah.
And psychokinesis was a very popular topic.
It was.
During that period of time. King was not, He didn't pull that out of his butt.
No.
People were talking about it all the time. They were talking about the idea that it was real.
Was this the time the same time as like Whitley Strieber doing like communion and stuff like that? Because that stuff kind of that was also kind of part of that as well.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But this was also around the time that James Randi fooled that the researchers at that major college institute. It's escaping me right now.
Amazing Randi.
But he had these kids fool the researchers by doing magic tricks and lying.
Yeah.
But the best part of that whole thing, because there's a whole expose, which I really recommend on the podcast World's Greatest Con with Brian Brushwood, where they talk about not only how that all went down, but the untold side, which was how bad those kids felt for fooling them.
Yeah.
But Randy had them make an agreement that they would cheat to do anything they could. But if they were ever asked, are you using trickery? Are you tricking us? Are you whatever?
Yeah.
If they were ever asked, they would go, absolutely, I am.
Yeah.
Like, I am a magician, or I'm a kid who wants to be a magician. They never asked them.
No.
For years, they would come and do these studies and cheat and lie. At one point, they broke in to the laboratory to see what was hidden in a box that they were going to be asked to They did. They broke in. But every time they'd be like, so you saw this? And they'd be like, yes. But nobody ever said are you lying? Did you cheat?
Yeah.
Nobody ever asked. Because they all wanted this thing to be real.
Makes sense.
So psychokinesis was a big thing. In fact, around the 70s and 80s, a really popular explanation for ghost hauntings, especially poltergeist hauntings, was, I think they even mentioned that in Poltergeist. They're like, maybe I think they even say one of the children could have telekinetic or psychokinetic power. That's the other thing. It became telekinetic later, but it was psychokinetic early on, and I kind of bounced between them. But that was another thing. People used to claim that maybe it's not poltergeist. Maybe it's that the young children have psychic abilities, which is great. It's maybe it's not a unicorn. Maybe it's the Loch Ness Monster.
It could be, So Carrie leaves school after the ashtray breaks, and she's walking home, and there's a kid on a bike that sees her, wheels back around, crazy Carrie, and then the bike just flips over.
Yeah. He gets dumped. And that's when you start to notice that it's her emotional state. You know, as her emotional state jumps, she's able to focus this power, not really intentionally, but in a general
Anytime
direction.
she whips around in this movie, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because her eyes will direct everything right at you.
Yes.
So, but then at this point, we also meet her mom as she goes to Mrs. Snell's house. And Mrs. Snell enjoying her soaps in the afternoon, having a nice little cocktail.
I like that because I know what you mean by soaps, but my brain, when you say enjoying her soaps in the afternoon, I just imagine a little plate of tiny soap slices. Very almondy. Very good. It's like housewives were bored, bro. She's like, my doctor won't give me Quaaludes anymore, so I just treat myself to a couple little soaps.
So Margaret comes to the door and is preaching her Jesus stuff, and immediately Snell is just like, she's known. They know about Carrie's mom in this neighborhood. They know who she is, and they know that she's a little wackadoo. Yeah. But for the credit, gives her attention and is just kind of even joking with her a little bit, because I can't remember what she says specifically, but it's something along the lines of the kids will be led to damnation. And she's just like, I'll drink to that, and then puts her glass down.
Because she's like, oh, I've just outed myself that I'm drinking booze at 1 p.m. or something, or noon.
So that's when oh damn it, I'm blanking on her name. What's the daughter's name? Is it Sue? Yeah, Sue. Sue comes home, and by this point too, she's just like wanting to get Margaret out of her house. So she's like, I'm gonna give you $10 to the church.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a great scene, a great way to establish her, and a great way to establish her before we see how she and Carrie interact, which is very complicated.
Yes, because
it doesn't come off complicated until you think about it.
Yeah, it's one of the situations where we see her in her element of people, of just like being out in the open, but like behind closed doors of that house, whole nother story.
Well, but here's the thing about her mom, because her mother is obviously a religious zealot.
Yeah.
Very intense about all these things. And one thing I thought is really, she's very big about like Carrie shouldn't be around boys, should do all these things. And there are parts where Carrie stands up to her and it's just like, what do you know about and all this stuff? And I'm just thinking as an adult now looking back, I'm like, well, your mom knows something about guys lying because she has a daughter and no husband.
Yeah.
Like she's clearly been there. Again,
we'll get there, but her final lines to Carrie before all that shit goes down at the end, I really hit me last night watching it, because I don't know if it was I never really paid attention to it, which is entirely possible.
Well, her character's so much.
Yeah.
It's easy to miss the nuance.
Yeah. So she ends up Carrie gets home and she's upstairs. She hears the phone ring and her mom answers it, and she knows immediately what the call is because it's the school.
Of course.
And her mom is just like, I know you're listening. Come on down. And Carrie goes to her mom and she's just like, why didn't you tell me? And this just breaks out into a whole thing of her slapping her and telling her that she's dirty and that she needs to ask for forgiveness and go into the prayer closet. Because there's, much like our movie Cobweb back in October, they have a little secret room in the kitchen, and it's a little closet that she locks her in basically to ask forgiveness, that has not a Jesus statue, but it's a very weird looking statue that we see at the end of the movie.
It is a Jesus statue.
It's not. Actually, my trivia, it's not.
What, are we talking about the statue that's nailed to a cross?
Then it has the arrows.
Yeah. How's that not Christ?
It's not Christ, apparently, in the notes. I'll get to it.
Yeah, I would love to know who that is then.
It's a saint of some kind.
I mean, that would make, they did crucify some people who got became sainted.
But yeah, she goes into the closet and is in there for a time being. Her mom's outside praying and then comes out and they pray together. So, I mean, that's basically the first scene they have together.
And while Carrie's mom is insane, it is worth mentioning. You got to feel a little bad for her mom because look at it from a take away all of the context you have initially and think about this. Her mother deeply believes in all these, heavily religious beliefs.
Yep.
On top of that, she has a daughter who has psychokinetic powers.
Yeah.
This woman, like, of course she believes in the devil and stuff. Even, I mean, like, so not only is she living this life where she's like, that must be the devil in my daughter, but then it's also that element where it's like, her daughter's all she has in the world.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to get rid of her.
Well, and there's one thing that I'll say about the 2013 remake, because I was not a big fan of it. I love Chloe Grace Moretz, and I thought she was a great casting for it, but that movie in particular, I just had problems with. But one of the things I really did like about that movie, and I believe it is in the book, I have not read the book, but I've read synopses of it and also read one before the show as well. There is an opening in the 2013 where it's Julianne Moore as her mom, and she's laying on the bed, and she knows that she's pregnant, and she wants to get rid of it, and she gives herself like an abortion with a knife. But then Carrie still survives.
I think that is in the book.
I think it is too. So
I think that just sounds so Stephen King.
Yeah, but I think once you know that, which because it's not present in this movie, obviously, and I mean she says it a little in that ending, which like I said we'll get to. But but at the same time, I think having that premise kind of gives the idea that her mom thinks that she might be something from Satan at this point.
But to twist it even more. She could be. Because the movie isn't about where the powers come from. It's about the fact that she has
them and just learning them. Yeah.
For all we know, Carrie is literally an agent of the devil that doesn't know it.
And it very well could be.
Kind of like how Damien doesn't really know. He just is who he is.
Yeah.
Granted, he's immensely evil, but it takes a while.
Yeah.
At first, he's like,
why are these things happening?
I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
Like I'm just doing whatever and this and that and this and that. And as things progress, you realize it. So, like, I mean, Carrie could literally be
the devil,
the Antichrist with these powers. And that's why I feel bad for her mom, because her mom is insane. But also, like, I wonder, like, how far was her mother driven insane? Like, how long was little Carrie moving things with her mind and her mother being like, you can't do that. You must never do that. Like, you can't be a friggin' like witch, basically.
Did the 2002 TV movie go into her younger a little bit more, or am I misremembering?
It's
been a while.
I only saw it when it aired.
Yeah.
With Angela Bettis.
Yep.
I remember thinking it was all right.
Yeah.
But, and I loved Angela Bettis.
Yeah.
I mean, she was great, but like, I don't know. But I remember as I was watching it, I was like, man, if you look at it from her mom's perspective, she's like, you know, demons and stuff all live around us. And it's like, and then her daughter moves things with her mind.
Yeah.
It's like, can you blame her for going crazier?
So back at the school, Miss Collins is letting the girls have it. They have a detention specifically that she is running.
Yeah, this was that scene I was talking about where she's like dressing them down.
They're doing
insulting
push-ups. They're having to run. She tells them that she'll suspend
push-ups from their knees.
Yeah. But she tells them that she'll suspend their prom if anything happens to Carrie, if any more pranks are done.
Well, and the Nina Allen. Not Nina Allen. Nancy Allen. Thank
Chris.
You.
Yeah.
But at one point, she's just like, well, I'm not showing up for your detention. She's like, well, then you will be suspended and you will lose your prom.
Yeah, you will not go to prom.
Because she opens with what I want to do is this. I'm not going to go that far.
Yeah.
So the moment she starts standing up to her, she's like, you will have the ultimate punishment.
Yes.
And at one point she says, you could stick it up your, and she stops right before she says, stick it up your ass.
Does she get slapped then, or is it the next scene?
No, I believe it might. I think
it's the next scene.
That's when they're doing the push-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
Because she dresses them down first, then it's gym class as normal. Because after she says all this mean stuff to them, she's like, now get changed. You know, it's time for gym class. But I love that she says, stick up your ass. And she doesn't get slapped to stop. She stops herself.
Yeah.
And then the gym teacher's just like, smack. And everybody's reaction when
she's like, you bitch, you can't do this. Come on, she can't do this. Like, tries to rally everybody. And I love Sue's like, just shut up, Chris.
Just shut up.
And
you're going to ruin all of our lives.
Let it go, Chris. Like, hell, I will.
It's a great moment too.
Yeah. So Chris is banned.
And it's such a good motive to have the mean girl escalate so much because her friends back out.
Yeah.
Like if she had their support, she might have not come at Carrie that quite that hard.
It's so funny too because I remembered PJ Souls being a bigger bitch in this movie, and she's really not. Like
Why
she
do you
has.
hate PJ Souls.
I don't hate PJ Souls.
For those who don't,
I've actually met PJ Souls, and she's an absolute sweetheart.
I met her
totally.
a bunch of times. Totally. I met her at the Memphis Drive-In when she was singing Rock and Roll High School.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. No, she's a hoot.
She's so much fun.
She's so much fun. But for some reason, you bring up such negative things about her all the time. You guys, well, they only hear you talk like an hour or two a week.
Oh, yeah,
but like in our day-to-day life, it's just like sometimes you just be like, God, this day's so gloomy. PJ Souls.
It's funny. You'll probably be shocked by this, but it wasn't until Junk Food Cinema did a podcast on Rock and Roll High School that I actually watched it, like in the last 2 years ago. When I was not 2 years ago, probably 3 now. Think about it.
Well, that's
when I had COVID. When I had COVID and I was in bed and could do nothing.
Had
never seen it, and my uncle had burned it for me. Like he had given it to me, and it was just one of those movies. I was just like, I wasn't a big fan of the Ramones then, and also it was just like. I didn't know if it was going to be my thing. And then watching it, I was just like, holy shit, this is totally my thing.
Rock and Roll High School is how I heard of the Ramones.
Yeah.
You know, like, no, that's wild to me because I was obsessed with Corman by the time I was 14.
Yeah.
So I was watching and that was the era of the Corman cult classics.
Yeah.
DVDs coming out, the Massacre
Through
collection
and everything.
Oh, no.
You're talking about
first ones, brother.
You're talking about, oh shit.
That's why I know I throw it around a lot, but you got to remember, man, like I'm 14, 13 years old when all of those are going into Best Buy in like 01, 02.
Where the bonus feature was scene selection.
No, it was scene selection and interactive menus.
Don't forget talent bios.
I don't ever want us to. I hate that you knew
where you were going.
Yeah, this is why I can't podcast on pain medicine because then I'm on Dave's level and it's just a bad move.
So Chris, by this point, is banned from the prom and she wants to get her revenge. So she enlists her boyfriend Tommy,
played by John Travolta,
played by a very young John Travolta,
very young. This has got to be before Saturday Night Fever, right?
Oh yeah,
because he wouldn't be such a small role.
It might be right after Saturday Night Fever because is Saturday Night 75? Let me check. I want to say it might be 75 is Saturday Night Fever. 77. So it's
a year right before. Which, like I said, because he plays like third or fourth banana.
Yeah.
So because he hadn't become a superstar yet. And he's great in it because he's playing this kind of
shit.
But initially he's somewhat reluctant.
He is, yeah.
But then
she keeps calling him dumb shit, which pisses him off.
Yes. And then she has a very strong motivation.
Yes. But and can still talk very well.
You know, rewatching that today, I did think it was weird that she was giving him fellatio and talking to him about
and saying how she hates Carrie White.
I love what she says is what?
Yeah.
No, that scene is fascinatingly weird.
Yeah, because they're driving around town and she's basically saying how she's upset and everything and that she wants to get her revenge, and he's drinking a beer while driving. They pull off to the side. She starts filleting him and basically like says that she hates Carrie White all while she's down there with him.
Yeah. Like it's a microphone.
Yeah.
Check. No, it's a great scene to show just how like devious this woman is, that she's clearly using sex to get this guy to do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
So she begins hatching a plot against Carrie.
Yeah. Meanwhile, her friend Sue is trying to figure out something nice that she can do for Carrie.
Right. And that's why this movie becomes so tragic.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's mean to Carrie.
No, not everybody is.
That's kind of why I love it.
Yeah. So she enlists her boyfriend, Tommy, who is played by the great William Catt, and she asks him if he will go to the prom with Carrie. And he thinks, I love the way that they show it, because she asks him, because meets her at school, and she's like, I got something to ask for you. And would you go to prom with Carrie White? And they cut away from the scene. Later, she's doing homework at her house. He's there watching TV, and he turns to her and he goes, okay.
Sure. No, it's nice. It's kind of convincing.
Yeah. So Carrie is later in the library, and she's looking around at books, and she comes across one on telekinesis and reads about it. And while she puts the book back, then Tommy is in the library, and she sees him. He asks her, and she doesn't know what to think at first.
And I love this sequence because it's like all on her eyes, and she's because it's so forbidden.
Yeah.
Because number one, her mother would not want her reading any of this stuff.
No.
But number two, she doesn't want anybody to know, like, she's already the weird girl. So now she's going to, unlike me, who was checking out like every book on, no, I'm serious. Like, have I told you the stories about like, there were UFO books and haunting books, and I was the only name.
Yep.
This was in elementary school.
Yeah.
I was the only name on the card, the little card you have to fill out when you check it out. Only one. And I would sit and read them on Saturday mornings. I'd be reading like all about ghosts. That's where I first heard what psychokinesis was.
Yeah.
That was where I first heard the concept that like it could be a child. You know, that was all from those early books.
Yeah.
Because I was obsessed with those, especially after I'd chewed through all the Poe. I just wanted, spooky shit. So I'd read UFO books, and I'd read paranormal phenomena, hauntings, psychic phenomena books. And I just love this sequence. I mean, obviously De Palma comes from a time period. Actually, I wanted to look up when he was born. Brian, because he's an older guy now, obviously.
Did you watch De Palma?
Yeah, I
couldn't remember if you had. Yeah,
I dug
if listener, if you have not seen the documentary that came out a few years ago called it's just called De Palma, and it's literally a camera sitting in front of Brian De Palma for like almost 2 hours, and him just talking about his projects.
Wait, he married Gail Ann Hurd?
Mm-hmm. Briefly.
What taste in men? Look, I'm so tired of James Cameron. He's so this and this and this. I want somebody reasonable, like Brian De Palma. Of course, then he's rich, so that doesn't hurt. But De Palma was born in 1940.
40, okay.
And the reason I mention this is because I think that's one of the reasons he has the level of style that he does.
Yeah.
Because if I were to look up when was the first talkie released, the first film, so 1927, but it wasn't widely available. It became a bigger deal in the 30s. That movies would all be talkies. So De Palma grows up in a world where cinema is still pretty infant.
Yeah.
And where a lot of the films he probably grew up watching were silent.
Makes sense.
And if you look at the way, I think that he really had a sense for the art form of film. And I don't mean that in a snooty way. It's just film has become so much more than its original concept because as time has went on, people have become much more obsessed with the narrative, which I am one of those people. I'm not somebody who believes film is solely visual like a Kubrick or something. But unlike Kubrick, I think in general, De Palma was very good at both. Kubrick had his moments on both. I mean, he's made some of the best movies ever made, and some movies I find really kind of boring and dull.
Yeah.
But he did what he was trying to do. He did well.
Oh, yeah.
So my point is that De Palma came from a world where film was a visual medium.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he had talkie movies around by the time he was a teenager, but he watched so many movies where all you did was look at what was on screen.
Yeah.
So when you consider that, his visual style is brilliant because he always cared about what was on screen so intensely.
Yes.
It's to the point where you can dissect like every frame, especially of his early films.
Yeah.
You could dissect like every frame of Carrie. You could dissect every frame of Phantom of the Paradise, of Blowout.
Phantom of Paradise especially. Yeah.
Well, that one, I mean, he really got to let her rip. But like this movie is such a visual treat.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to check out the 4K yet, but I watched it on HBO Max. It might have been in 4K on HBO Max, but doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I watched it and I was just like, man, I mean, and I'm not blowing people's minds by saying De Palma, pretty good visual storyteller.
Crazy.
But I think it's worth mentioning that he came up when people were just really getting a serious groove on films where people talk. And I know there were, the 50s and 60s were full of talky movies, but he just really exemplified that idea that the image is first, and everything follows the image follows everything about the story.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this movie is so striking, because De Palma was also good at keeping things human.
He was.
It still is, I guess. I mean, and I was talking to Rachel about it earlier, and I was telling her, like, how incredible his stuff is. I was like, don't get me wrong, he's made movies I don't think are good too, but he's made some of the best movies I've ever seen as well.
I mean, I've seen most of his stuff in the later years recently too. And the one I mentioned, Passion from 2013, it's a solid flick. I mean, it borrows a lot of stuff from his movies, but he's fucking allowed to.
Well, they're his movies.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, but I mean, I think that even in one of his lesser movies, there's still something to take away from his style every time. And
Carrie was, I mean, it turned into a huge movie, but it was a relatively small. UA was not a big studio. I mean, it was like a medium-sized studio. UA made movies with Roger Corman.
You might shit when I tell you the budget of Carrie. I'll tell you that much.
I think I know what it is, but we'll get there. I think I do. Yeah. I know that it made like hundreds of millions.
It made buku for what it was, So while this is going on, she ends up, telling Miss Collins that Tommy asked her out, and Miss Collins right away is just like, I smell something's up. And she doesn't tell Carrie. She's just like, oh, well, that's very sweet.
She's so good to Carrie. Well, the problem is, for her, is she wants Carrie to be okay.
Yeah.
So she can't just go, oh, well, he's lying, or, oh, that seems suspicious, because she wants Carrie. Her biggest problem with Carrie, she's like, why do you think you're not capable of anything?
Yeah.
Why do you think you can't have good things? So that's one of the first things she's like, maybe he just likes you. You're worth liking.
Yeah.
You're a pretty girl. You're smart.
Well, I love that the way that they introduced this scene in particular is she's, the girls are going to class and she's behind them going down the steps. And as she goes around the steps, there's Carrie just sitting in the corner by herself at the bottom of the steps.
Yeah.
And crouches down with her and is talking with her and everything. So yeah, Collins immediately is like, I'm going to go talk to Sue and Tommy. And she asks Sue, like, what do you think you're doing? And she's like, I just think that Carrie deserves to have a good time, like, and is being so sincere. And Tommy is the same thing with this. He's just like, there's no ill intentions here. I just want to do something that Sue has asked me to do.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I just watched it, but it's been a day.
Yeah.
I mean, this morning I was at urgent care.
Yeah.
And you should have heard the amount of F words I said when I was in the car, because I had to do a rush to UPS after I got my meds.
God.
So I'm rushing to UPS, and I literally look at my thing, and I'm like, it's 1:40. It's fucking 1:40. And I'm like swearing the whole time I'm driving, because I'm like, I got to get home and start watching Carrie. And like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? Also really fun when they were like, hey, your ear's really swollen and you have swimmer's ear. And they're like, but don't worry, there's a drop for it. It has cortisol, so it reduces the swelling while it kills the infection. And I was like, awesome. And then I look at the packages, like, you'll experience improvements in 2 to 3 days. And I was like, cool, that'll be just about when I'm done working 4 days straight.
Yep.
So anyway, but my point is, so I may have missed it, but he doesn't really like romance lie.
No,
he's just like, oh, we'll just go and have a good time.
Yeah.
Like it'll be fun. We'll have a great time.
He basically says, like, it's Sue's idea and I'm happy to facilitate it. And I mean, that is right there, just shows the three of them want good things for Carrie together. And she actually sees it. And she's just like, all right, but if this is like, if I find out something else, like, you're both dead.
Now let's real talk. Did you go to prom?
Yes.
Both? Junior and senior?
Yes. So junior year, my date canceled on me in the last. Yeah, my date canceled on me.
Thought you were different, David.
3 days before.
Ouch. Why?
Did not say. I think went with somebody else, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of just let that go. And
were you seeing each other?
No, we were friends, and she just kind of did that to me. So luckily,
she probably ended up being able to go with a guy she was like into.
Could have been.
I'm not trying to be mean. I mean,
no,
just sincerely, like, because I went to, I'm not going to interrupt. I want to hear the rest of yours. I went to junior prom. I did not go to senior prom. I was already dropped out of high school.
Yeah.
So I showed up to prom, and actually a lot of people were like, whoa.
Never went to midwinter. I will say that.
But I don't even know what that means. I know there's a homecoming.
Homecoming, midwinter, prom.
Yeah, I didn't even know about midwinter. We may not have had it at my school for all I know. But
yeah.
But I went with a friend that asked me because she just really didn't want to go by herself.
Yeah.
And she was a very awkward, sweet, but very awkward young woman. She was 6 foot tall.
Interesting.
At 16 years old.
Damn. Okay.
She was very tall.
Yeah.
And I wish I know there's a photo somewhere. My mom took a picture when she picked me up.
Yeah.
But like, so she's like, I'm on a good day 5'8". So she's very, very tall.
Yeah.
anyway, so I went with a friend.
Yeah.
But so yeah.
she had canceled on me like 3 days before.
So you went stag or
no? I actually luckily had a friend who had graduated the previous year, and she was just like, well, if you want to go, like I'll go with you. So me and Lish ended up going together, and then my senior year, one of my best friends and I went and had a great time.
So both times it was
both
platonic.
times are great. Yeah, both times
platonic.
Platonic, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun.
You were a handsome boy. What was happening?
It was more so just the fact that like I didn't care. Like I hate saying that, but like
because you were kind of above it.
Yeah, it was that, but also
That's okay. Dude, I felt that way.
No, it was that, but it was also the fact that it was just like my crowd didn't really go to those.
That's
like,
my point.
Yeah. Like that was
my point exactly.
Yeah.
Is that you were too cool for it.
Too cool for it, yeah.
But I get that. You know, there's a lot of pressure to these dances. A lot, like I can't tell you how many friends I had who were like all excited to go, and then their relationship ends like right then, or at prom. A lot of people were breaking up at the junior prom I was at.
Yeah.
So like that was kind of my point too. Is like if you had like little girlfriends here and there. I mean, a lot of those high school things last like a couple months.
Yeah.
So you might not make it to dance.
Our prom was at the Dayton Masonic Center.
So it was a secret.
Yeah, totally secret.
I've been making friends at the Masons. I can't tell you who because it's a secret.
That's fair.
No, but a lot of Masonic people hang out at the lounge.
Yeah, but yeah, no, we went. That was where it was both times. I had a good time. I remember the after parties way more than I do the actual prom. The one thing I do remember about prom is for my senior, I did Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I did the whole get up. I still have the pictures if you want to see them sometime. I don't want to show them to you, but I'll show them to you.
I went to Value City Department Store.
Yeah.
Not because I was poor, because at that point we're actually doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was, really got our lives situated, but because Value City, which now the ones that exist still only sell furniture, but there used to be department stores. I don't know if you ever went to one.
Mm-hmm.
They had everything. They had suits and dress pants and dress shoes, and it's where I found my Freddy's Nightmare VHS. Literally, there's just a stack of old new tapes.
Yeah.
One day, and I was like, oh, "Mom!" And I loved going there because you could buy something brand new that was really pretty affordable when I was a kid. But I loved Value City for dress clothes because they had gaudy stuff.
Oh, I bet.
And my outfit was I had a white shirt. I had a tie I bought at Value City that was a Jerry Garcia tie because it was like crazy purples, like really loud. I bought a suit that was a black jacket with square like thatching, so it lines going both ways that made little squares.
Yeah.
And the pants were royal blue, like bright blue. And then I went to Today's Man at the mall, which and bought blue gator shoes with gold tips on the toe.
Nice.
And that was what I wore to the prom.
Yeah.
And I wore that suit so many other times too. I wore that to so many conventions and things like that.
I did realize I misremembered my senior homecoming is when I did the Dracula. I dressed up for both proms. I had to think about that for a second.
And when you say Dracula, you mean just like in style, or did you wear like makeup?
I had a wig. I had the hat. I had the coat. I had the cane. I had the glasses. Yeah, it's bad. I'll show you a picture after this. Maybe I'll even post the picture when this episode goes up on the DU Movie Facebook page.
Wow.
Maybe. But yeah, no, prom for me, I had great times at both. Luckily, like I said, the whole thing with my date canceling on me, like, it sucked. Like, I mean, that fucking sucked. But luckily, my friend Lish came and clutched for me.
I feel bad even remembering it because I did not have a good time. I hated being at the prom. I didn't like the people there. I had a few friends that were there who were excited to see me. But like, I didn't really, once I got there, I was like, shit, I really don't like this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really want to be here. I felt so bad for my date because like, I didn't go to after prom. I was like, I really just don't want to be around these people anymore. Like I had dropped out of high school like 8 months earlier because I hated everything about school.
We didn't go to after prom. We made our own after prom. I had a hot tub, man. What do you want?
Fucking people.
So by this point, we also see the vengeance that Chris is plotting against Carrie, which is, I forgot how fucking heinous it was. Like, I mean, I knew
they go to the pig the slaughterhouse, the abattoir?
So I mean, we're seeing John Travolta and his buddies along with Chris walking across this huge mural of this slaughterhouse. They get inside, and Travolta just gets in between these pigs and just starts swinging a sledge.
Well, first he's trying to get his buddy to do it.
Yeah.
And his buddy chickens out. So then you find out that Travolta's, he's a pretty mean dude.
How many pigs do you think they killed for that bucket?
Honestly, sows are huge.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
Okay.
Maybe two.
Fun fact,
for that much blood.
In the book, 2 buckets.
Well, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. A lot of pigs are dead in the book.
Well, I mean, you could have just went with like a bunch of table tennis balls that were ping pong balls. But yeah.
So by this point, Carrie also has to tell her mom. And she has to tell her mom delicately.
Yeah. You got to dress that up. Yes.
So she informs her mom that she wants to attend the prom, and of course Piper Laurie forbids it. She's just like, you can't do it. Like, it's a sin. You will be cast out if you do this. And Carrie stands up to her and says, no, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a good time.
But the sad thing is her mom's right.
Her mom's right.
That this is bad.
It's bad because also she starts to use her telekinetic powers at this point because she gets angry. And this is the first instance of her mom actually seeing them that we see.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's no way that it never happened.
Yeah.
But it's becoming clear as we're watching it that Carrie's abilities
This is the mirror, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, this is she's in the bathroom with her mom and the mirror just shatters. Like, this is the famous clip from the trailer as the mirror shakes and then completely breaks. And her mom gets spooked.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah. Her mom gets spooked and denounces Carrie as a witch at this point. So Carrie still says that she's going to the prom. Mom calls her a witch. And now we are moving into prom time.
They're all going to laugh at you.
Remember,
that's what she's warning her, though. She's saying, like, they're going to make fun of you.
Yeah.
This is not where you belong. And her mom's pretty much seeing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Which is really tragic, too, because, again, like, she's nuts.
Yeah.
But she's trying to be helpful in her twisted way.
And then we also see the second part of Chris's revenge plan, that they are now at the prom setting, the day before prom is going to be, and he is up in the loft setting the bucket right above them, because the plan is that they are going to manipulate the votes for prom king and queen to have Carrie and Tommy win so that they can drop a bucket of pig's blood on Carrie in front of everyone.
Well, David, that's a bit specious. I have it under good authority. That was the most secure election in the history of proms.
Was it? Because we see how it's handled.
Yeah.
So by this point, Chris is also instructing what is his name? Is it Billy? Yeah, Billy.
Billy.
Billy and Tommy. Yeah. She's instructing Billy, and they get the bucket placed, and that's when we also see that their plan is to hide under the stage with the rope and then pull it when the time comes.
And what a heinous!
It's a really fucked up thing.
Covering somebody in pig's blood.
Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of one of the things that I was even thinking on last night. It was just like, we all know the story of Carrie for the most part, so we know that being the thing. But it's
people at least know that thing.
And it's just like, if you think about that thing, that's really fucking gross.
It's disgusting.
Yeah,
and it would smell horrible.
It would just
be, everything about it.
You're never getting out that memory. Like, no one's gonna forget about the girl that got covered in pig's blood.
No. Well, they're really never gonna forget about the girl that got covered in pig's blood.
Oh, especially now.
I mean, yeah.
So the next day it's prom. We see everybody's getting ready. In fact, we also see that the guy that is going to be collecting the ballots gets met by one of Billy's friends, and he's just like, yeah, I wanted to help you count the ballots. And he's like, all right, man, well, can you be here at 6? 6 isn't good for me. 8. I'll be here at 8. 8 sounds good. And just walks off.
Yeah.
So we see everybody getting ready for prom, including Carrie, who makes her own dress.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the scenes that made me think a lot, because it's one of those things where, because all the other kids seem to come from means.
Yeah.
So when they say, like, I love your dress, where'd you get it? And she's like, I made it. And they're like, wow, you made it. They're not even being sarcastic.
No.
They think that And because from their perspective, making a dress would be really special. From her perspective, it's like, no, that's what I have to do.
What
if
I have
want
to do.
clothes.
Yeah.
Like I make them.
And naturally, her mom walks in with her trying on the dress, comments on her dirty pillows.
Yeah, there's some real memorable lines.
There really are.
Dirty
And
pillows.
she says they're breast mother. Everyone has them. And that's when Piper Laurie is just like, why don't you stay home? We'll take that dress off. We'll burn it. We'll pray. And, we'll get forgiveness. And she's like, no, Mom, I'm going.
Which is the other moment that made me go, man, she really knows this is going to go bad.
Yeah. And even
she's really trying.
She's waiting on Tommy at this point. Her mom is begging her. And Carrie is lashing out a little bit with the powers and even throws her mom back on the bed a couple times and basically tells her, I'm going to prom. There's nothing you can do. I'll be home after.
Yeah.
So she gets out to the car with Tommy. It's really cute. Like Tommy is basically just telling her, we're just going to go have fun. There's nothing, nothing to worry about. Like, just enjoy yourself tonight.
Yeah. It's this buildup is so well done.
Yeah.
And it's the tragedy of it is really my favorite.
Yeah.
So,
and by this point too, news has gotten out that Tommy and Carrie are going to prom together, and we see that Helen and PJ Soul's character are talking about it and laughing because they can't believe that Tommy's taking her.
right.
So we get to prom. Everybody's decked out, like you said. They're asking Carrie about her dress. She's telling them they made it. There's a really, really cute scene between Tommy and Carrie, which is the one shot from De Palma that I love in this, is where the platform just spinning with them dancing.
Yeah, they're on a Lazy Susan, so that they're kind of spinning.
Yeah.
So the background's moving and they're staying still.
But they're laughing. Carrie's having a great time, and eventually they sit down at the table and they see that they're on the prom court. And she's like, "Did you know about this?" And he's like, "I did not." And she's like, "Oh." And he's like, "Well, we can, we can just cross ourselves off, and if we don't want to do it." She's like, "No, that's fine. Well, who do you want to vote for? You want to vote for us? No, we shouldn't vote for us." So then we get to the point of PJ Souls collecting the ballots, which she collects the ones from the tables and then swaps them with the pre-made ones.
Yeah. Ugh.
So we get to the time where it's time for Prom King and Court to be announced. And naturally, Tommy and Carrie are announced. They go up on stage and everybody's cheering, everybody's applauding. By this point, too, Sue has gotten to the prom and she's on the side of the stage looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
But what we don't realize until they show us via panning is that Sue is leaning against the rope that Billy and Chris are under the stage holding that is going to drop the pig's blood. And right as everybody is getting ready to applaud, they're getting crowned, Sue notices the rope, follows it up and sees, and then follows it around. And Miss Collins thinks she's getting ready to pull a prank and pulls Sue away right out the door, right as Chris pulls the rope, and the pig's blood just spills all over Carrie.
And one thing that's kind of a funny thing to consider is, remember, the big thing that this mean girl wanted was to have her prom.
Yeah.
She gave up her whole prom to do this shit.
do this.
They're literally, as everybody's dancing and having a good time stuff, they're hiding under the stage like to pull a prank.
Well, and Travolta's drunk off his ass, just drinking beers. But one thing I love about this scene is the lack of audio, because all we hear is the blood splash, silence. We see people reacting. We see people being shocked. A couple people laugh. PJ Soul starts laughing. People are horrified. But then we also see that Tommy is just like, who the hell did that? We're reading his lips as he's saying this. And then the bucket falls off and hits Tommy right in the head, clocking him and taking him out.
Yeah, which is another great touch because it's so realistic that like, then the bucket falls and whacks him in the head.
And then by this point, Carrie starts to hallucinate that everybody is laughing, Her mom's words start ringing. They're all going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you. And we see the beautiful split screens and the circles of everybody that De Palma has come to know a bit by his craft.
It's like a kaleidoscope shot.
Yeah.
And I love this too because the whole concept that not everyone's laughing at her. A few real big assholes are, but most people are just like, fuck. They're like, fuck
they're
this.
horrified.
This is fucked up.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter anymore because Carrie has
had it.
She's lost it.
Yes.
And yeah.
So naturally, we get the psycho stings that as we see the doors all shut. We see everybody get sealed into the room, and all hell breaks loose as the lights turn red. The doors are shutting on people as they're trying to get the doors open. The fire hoses come alive. She's
spraying them with a fire hose. Yeah. Well, they're spraying on their own.
Yeah.
She's doing everything, and it's such an iconic moment where she turns her head and you see a thing happen. She turns her head again and you see a thing happen.
But then Chris and Billy completely escape scot-free.
Yeah, which is another great example because we watch the person who looked out for Carrie the most dies horribly.
horribly.
She gets smashed up against the wall, nearly cut in half.
Yeah, nearly cut in half. I mean, at this point, the fire hoses are spraying. We're seeing the great Sidney Lassick, who I forgot to mention is the teacher.
Yes.
He and the guy are trying to get a hold of the crowd, and they're grabbing on the microphones, and then Carrie has the fire hoses go over the microphone and the electricity. They get shocked. Fire breaks out with that famous shot of her and behind the prom, like, I don't know what you call it,
yeah, I'm not sure.
Set dressing. The
decorations.
The decorations completely turns to fire, and I mean, this is a bloodbath at this point. People are dying. People are getting sprayed by this fire hose. There's fire going everywhere, and eventually she just walks out as we are seeing these flames pummel up behind her.
Yeah, it's an incredible sequence.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody's raved about how great the end of Carrie is, but the tragic element is something that really sticks out to me the older I get, the more I watch it. Of so many innocent people, are in that room who meant her no harm.
Miss Collins. I mean, these people all perish because as Carrie opens the doors and walks out, she seals them again, and we're hearing people screaming inside. The flames are getting higher. I mean, by this point, everybody's going to die inside the school, most likely.
Yeah. And she walks home. Covered in pig's blood.
But right as she is walking down her street, a familiar car comes into frame as Chris and Billy are speeding up, and Chris tries to run her down. Carrie turns around immediately. We hear the psycho sting again, and the car completely goes on its side and fucking rolls like 3-4 times.
Yeah, it's flinged like it's nothing, which also establishes that, like, there's really no bounds. To Carrie's telekinetic power.
So fun fact, difference between the book at this point and the movie is she blows up several petrol stations, sends out a telekinetic message to the town that she is the one that causing this, basically shuts down the entire town and kills a bunch more people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the stakes are way higher in the book. I mean, they're pretty high in the movie as well, but...
Well, I think in the book, the town was a lot smaller.
Yes.
As to where in the movie... It's a more sizable community, a more of a middle class kind of suburb. So yeah, it would be a huge thing for her to just. I think it's bad enough she's burning a bunch of people alive.
So Chris and Billy die in the car because the car explodes, and Carrie makes her way home. She goes to take a bath and wash all the blood off her. But when she gets home, she realizes that the house is now completely filled wall to wall with candles,
with lit candles. And I want to say something that I had a thought about when I was watching the ending.
Yeah,
and that is. Think about her poor mother, her crazy, crazy mom, whose daughter is something else than normal.
Yeah.
I just imagine that she was like, that every one of those candles, she probably like literally said a prayer on like 90 candles because she's so... like gone. It's so horrible.
I love the fact that she's not present in the house when Carrie gets there, because that kind of builds the idea of where, like, she's definitely here. I mean, this is her house. She's here somewhere. But the fact that we don't see her, Carrie gets to wash the blood off her, get dressed, and then come back down, and her mom's waiting for her.
Yes.
It's like her mom gave her the time to collect herself because now she's got this plan.
Yeah. So Carrie's in the bathtub, just, turning bright red, all the water in the tub as she cleans herself off. And then we get that great reveal of her mother, like, behind the door.
Yeah.
And she has a knife.
Yep.
And she has decided that all she can do is kill Carrie.
And before she does this, though, Carrie is they're on the steps because I think her mom is late because they're getting ready to go downstairs. And Carrie's mom basically tells her that, I never thought that it would be a sin. I would never sin with my husband, but then there was one drunken night. Then that was your conception. And then he left us.
Yeah.
And I mean, basically blames Carrie for everything at this point.
Sure. But I also, a reading I got, because, she stabs Carrie. She falls down the stairs.
Yeah.
And then she comes down there trying to finish the job.
Yes. Well, she's and fucking wielding that knife and just is in like a stasis.
Yeah. Well, and when she thinks she's about to finally kill Carrie, she has this look, this insane grin. And one of the thoughts I had about it, and I don't know if this is like a common thought. I don't know if to me, I don't know if she had that big grin because she was just completely insane, or if she was happy
that she was helping
to end this like wretched life that they both live.
Yeah.
Because I think after she had killed Carrie, she was going to kill herself.
Yeah.
So part of me wonders if she's so happy because she was like, we're going to get out of this awful world. The devil will be out of you and we'll be together, in heaven or whatever. Because in her twisted way, all she wanted was good for Carrie.
Yeah.
It's just deeply broken.
I think
She's
there's
a deeply
no
broken person.
I think there's no argument you could make that she didn't love her daughter. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
she wouldn't do all this stuff and be concerned about, let's stay home, we'll burn the dress. Like, I'm trying to save you.
Yeah.
Is how this is all coming out. And that's why the only thing that she can do at this point is save everybody by taking her out of the equation as well, because she knows that she can't control the powers.
Yeah. And God, like, or worse yet, she is controlling the powers.
She is controlling the powers.
She's gonna kill everybody. She's gonna be the end of everything.
So by this point, Carrie has blood coming out of her mouth. She's been stabbed maybe a couple times, and she gets to this corner, and her mom has her cornered, and then she's standing in this doorway, and then all of a sudden, every sharp implement in this kitchen starts flying right into Piper Laurie, and just hits her in the chest, hits her in the side, hits her in the shoulder. Like, I mean, there's like 7 knives of varying qualities that are in her by this point. And she's pinned in a way that the statue is in the closet.
Yeah, she looks like the crucified statue.
Yes.
Which is one of the reasons, although it's interesting that it wasn't a Christ figure, because one of my thoughts was about that matching the figure, which then as the house begins to collapse and Carrie is just, gone nuclear with her powers, part of me thought that there was like this element that like Piper Laurie's death was like the salvation of Carrie. Yeah. Similar to the idea of like this statue being a symbol of salvation.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about the fact of, that she murders her mom with the telekinetic knives going into her, and then goes up to her crying and takes them all out.
Yeah.
Because her mom gets pinned to the fucking door frame. Like the knives go into her hand. Like she's pinned there like a cushion at this point. So
and the expression after her mother is definitely dead.
Yeah.
Is of peace. She doesn't look angry or sad or dead. She looks like she's taking a good nap.
Yeah.
Which is insane. I love that visual. It's terrifying.
So Carrie takes the knives out of her, carries her mom into the prayer closet, and then by this point, it's up to interpretation, I feel like, because one could say that Carrie completely does all this, or this could be divine intervention.
That you're not wrong. Yeah.
Because as she gets into the closet, fires start breaking all around the house. The house completely starts collapsing on her. And also, she has her mom in the closet with her, and she's hugging her as the house collapses around them.
Yeah.
So the house completely sinks in. It's burning down and everything. And the last shot we get is this statue that we keep talking about, which is exactly like her mom looked, just not even 2 minutes ago.
Do you ever think that maybe Carrie's killing her own mother made her realize her mother was right? That like they should die.
It could
right
be.
then and there. Like it has to stop.
Yeah.
Because that's something I that popped into my head just now as you mentioned. Like, could it be divine intervention, or could it be Carrie finishing what her mother started because she's realizing
what she's done?
Am I a monster?
Yeah.
Maybe I am a monster. I don't know what's going on anymore.
So the house is destroyed. Her mom and her have died at this point. Sometime later, we see that Sue is the sole survivor of that night, and she's walking along the fence to the house, which is now completely just a rock pile with a for sale sign on it that says Carrie White burns in hell written in graffiti on it.
And there was a lot of anti-Carrie graffiti throughout the movie.
Yeah.
It's worth mentioning.
So we also see that Sue is like in a dreamy element. She's carrying flowers up to the sign, puts them down, and then the infamous hand shoots out of the ground, grabs onto her, and we see that Sue is completely having a nightmare and is hysteric now. Her mom walks in trying to comfort her, but Sue's fucked up for life.
Yeah.
I mean, and we even find that out in Rage Carrie 2.
Yeah, and the audience isn't doing so good either.
The audience is not doing so well.
Great end scare.
Yeah.
I know that it wasn't liked by like any of the creative people at the time.
Yeah.
But it is so memorable.
Became so memorable and it got homaged so much.
Oh, I would say homage is kind. I would say it was stolen.
But that is 1976's Carrie, directed by Brian De Palma, and what a film this is.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to love about it. As we were breaking it down, it's a simple story, very masterfully told.
Yeah.
Super tragic because so many people that had nothing to do with hurting Carrie die.
Yeah.
Because her rage it's all encompassing. It's like a fire.
Yeah.
Like the fire that she starts, it consumes everything. And once it starts, you can't stop it.
Can't stop it. So would you like to guess what the budget was?
I feel like it was under 2.
You are correct. 1.8 million.
That's snug.
There is no opening or anything like that for the figures. 33 million is what it ends up taking in worldwide.
Really? I thought it was even more than that. Although that's a lot considering the budget.
The time
very
and
cheap or very high.
Yeah. Filmed in Hermosa Beach, Vernon, Los Angeles, Santa Paula, San Fernando, California. Now, the tragic part of that is recently with the San Fernando fires, we did lose a lot of locations, including the high school, and I believe even the house did get lost as well.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we lost a lot of,
great.
Yeah. California
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shot in a period of 50 days.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
While speaking at a book event in Fort Myers, Florida in 2010, Stephen King recalled that he was paid $2,500 for the movie rights to Carrie, which may seem like a pittance, but he has no regrets. I was fortunate to have that happen to my first book, King said.
That's all. He didn't have back end, or he got that little. They must have bought it early. They must have bought it. They must have bought it before it went to paperback.
It's possible,
because I know that he didn't make a crap load of money till it went to paperback.
Because
he talks about that in detail in On Writing.
On Writing,
how he's like, they want to do a paperback, and his wife was like, I think The Godfather got like $10 million for paperback, and he finds out he's getting multi-million dollars for the paperback release.
Jack Fisk revealed to IndieWire about casting of Sissy Spacek because of Phantom. Brian actually thought of Sissy as a set dresser. She was a set dresser on De Palma Films early on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I got together with Brian on Carrie, Sissy called him and said, Brian, I'm coming in for a test to test for Carrie, but I've also got an audition for Vanquish commercial where I can make $10,000. Should I do that or come in? She thought he'd say, oh, please come in. I've got to see you. But he actually said, well, Sissy, I think you ought to do the commercial. She got so upset that she sat down in her living room in Topanga Canyon, read the book Carrie from cover to cover, didn't sleep, got up the next morning, put Vaseline in her hair, put a little sailor dress that her mother had made for her in 7th grade, and then she went in for the testing.
Wow.
Yeah. When Sissy Spacek was preparing for her character, she isolated herself from the rest of the ensemble, decorated her dressing room with heavy religious iconography, and studied Gustave Doré's illustrated Bible. She studied the body language of people being stoned for their sins, starting or ending every scene in one of those positions.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Sissy Spacek asked Brian De Palma how he wanted her to react when Carrie first realizes that she is bleeding in the showers at the start, and De Palma told her, it's like you've been hit by a Mack truck. Spacek told her, talked to her husband, Jack Fisk, who was the art director on the film, who, as a child, had been run over by a car when he was standing in the streets looking at Christmas lights a neighbor had put up, used this description of the experience as basis for the scene.
Shit. Okay.
To become Carrie, Sissy Spacek would intentionally avoid socializing with the other actors on and off set. She would stay in her trailer or hide in the corner or behind the set. Also, before this happened, she warned the other actors that although she loved them, she would be avoiding them so she could stay in character, and they respected Sissy Spacek for it. She told them that they would have so much fun together after the movie was finished.
I bet in reality they were like, God, we hate her so much. Like, thank God she's not gonna be around.
Sissy Spacek was 25 years old at the time of filming. Carrie is 17 years old in the novel.
Wow, that's very late to start your period too.
Initially,
I'm just saying like that. Yeah.
Initially, PJ Souls was only cast for 2 weeks, but after she hit Sissy Spacek over the head with her red baseball hat during the volleyball scene, which is in the beginning of the film, Brian De Palma decided to keep her around longer.
Oh, I mean, when you impress De Palma.
Yeah. Nancy Allen claims she never realized her character was going to be so evil until she saw the finished film. She thought that she and John Travolta were playing such self-centered bickering morons that they were some kind of comic relief. Killing pigs and all.
Well, it was a different time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a different time.
According to Piper Laurie, she honestly thought her character was too over-the-top fanatical to be taken seriously. De Palma had to take her aside and personally tell her it was a horror film, not a black comedy, as she thought it was. Even so, she would constantly burst out in laughter between takes because not only was her characterization and wardrobe laughable in her eyes, but the dialogue itself was humorous to her. To this day, she still refers to and maintains that the movie is a black comedy.
Fair enough. I mean, that's, what Toby Hooper said about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's like, I thought it was funny. I'm like, okay, Toby.
Adding to the mother's delusional character is the fact that none of the Bible passages in the film are generally interpreted the way she interprets them. For example, she quotes Genesis chapter 3 to say that sexuality is evil. The chapter is a story of Adam and Eve eating the forbidden fruit. While some Bible scholars draw parallels with this and sexuality, particularly because of the passage's mention of them suddenly being ashamed of their nakedness, it is not generally the accepted interpretation.
Well, there's also, the concept that some people follow that menstruation is a punishment for original sin.
Yep.
That's why women do it and not men, because Eve betrayed Adam and blah, 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 blah. So, I mean,
it's open.
You could interpret it that way. I mean, not that people interpret the Bible. So,
Edie McClurg, who played Helen in the film, originally had no dialogue in any part of the film, so she decided to improvise instead. This resulted in everything that we see Helen say in the film being completely made up by the actress with De Palma's blessing, naturally.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
John Travolta auditioned on a lunch break while filming Welcome Back, Kotter. He showed up for his audition still dressed as Vinnie Barbarino.
Legend.
Sissy Spacek filmed the scene in the locker room shower without any of the other actresses on set.
I mean, it's quite a scene.
Yeah.
Jesus.
During filming of the scene where Miss Collins is chewing out the girls in the gym, Brian De Palma was standing behind Amy Irving just off screen and whispering cruel and hurtful things into her ears in order to make Sue's look of misery and guilt on camera look genuine.
Damn. Okay.
De Palma wanted Betty Buckley to really slap Nancy Allen because Allen couldn't get the reaction De Palma wanted. Buckley ended up slapping her as many as 30 times.
Jeez. Gotta get it right.
Prom scene took over 2 weeks to shoot and required a total of 35 takes.
That's 35 doesn't sound
like a lot.
Maybe they mean just of like the blood.
That's what I'm guessing.
Because that would take a long time to set up and redo. You have to wash everything.
Oh, yes. Just wait. Originally, De Palma had used split screen effect extensively during the prom scene. Disappointed with the results, he re-edited most of the scenes into full frame shots, leaving only the few split screen moments that he felt worked.
He was right.
Yeah.
Because they worked very well.
The dizzying camera shot during the prom scene was achieved by placing William Catt and Sissy Spacek on a platform that was spinning in one direction while the camera was being dollied in the opposite direction.
Yeah, a lazy Susan is what they used to call it.
While filming the bloody prom sequence, Sissy Spacek's trailer was parked behind the set. After being covered in fake blood for continuity purposes, Spacek refused to wash the effect off. She elected instead to sleep in her bloody clothes for 3 days of filming.
Ew. Thank God she wasn't hanging out with anybody.
Betty Buckley's terrified look on the face right before she gets killed is real, since they hadn't been able to test the falling backboard to make sure it would stop where it was supposed to before hitting her, and no one knew for certain whether it would work or not.
That sounds a little scurrilous. Who would... They had to have tested it somewhat.
Somehow.
They probably didn't test it with her in there. They probably... I mean, because there's no way they built that and went, well, in theory, it'll stop, because like you could die. Like, yeah, geez.
Ever the stickler for authenticity, Sissy Spacek insisted she, not a double, be the one whose hand shoots up from Carrie's grave during Sue Stell's nightmare sequence, so she was positioned under the rocks and gravel. De Palma stated, "Sissy, come on, I'll get a stunt person. What do you want? To be buried in the ground?" However, Spacek declared, "Brian, I have to do this." De Palma explains that they had to bury her. We had to put her in a box and stick her underneath the ground. Well, I had her husband bury her because I certainly did want to bury her. I used to walk around and set up the shot every once in a while. We'd hear, "Sissy, are we ready yet?" "Yeah, Sissy, we're going to get ready real soon."
Jeez.
In the last scene of the film, Amy Irving's outburst so terrified her real life mother, Priscilla Pointer, that she screamed out Amy instead of Sue. She had never seen her daughter that hysterical and called out her real name in concern. However, the loud music ending covers the mistake.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
In the 1976 film version of Carrie, most versions of Carrie dies in her home after a brutal confrontation with her mother. In the book, she stalks Billy and Chris, who attempt to run her down the road. She blows up the car, and then she collapses in a field by the road. Sue finds her there, confronts her, letting her know that she was not in on the prank to embarrass her, after which Carrie dies in the field by the road.
I think De Palma was much more interested in the mother, the Carrie mother connection.
I think so.
Than the book was initially.
Yeah. When Carrie's mother meets her demise, she is stabbed multiple times. For this scene, the knives started off in Margaret's body before being pulled out by a string. When editing the scene, they played the footage in reverse to achieve the look of the knives flying in towards Margaret.
I mean, that's how to do it. I mean, it's shocking to watch.
According to Sue Snell, The Rage Carrie 2, 73 people died in the prom massacre, and that the few people who made it out alive refused to talk about the incident afterwards, confirming that she wasn't the sole survivor. In the novel, only 11 people were confirmed to have escaped from prom and survived.
Oh, jeez.
Although the house used for the White residence was a real home in Santa Paula, California, a smaller replica building and its neighbor had to be reconstructed in the studio to be burnt down. The original script actually called for the house to be destroyed by falling stones, but the effect proved less than spectacular on film. Traces of the original idea can be seen in volcanic rocks that fill the White's empty lot in the last shots, instead of the charred remains of the frame house that would normally be expected.
Okay.
When Carrie flips Billy's car, the interior shot shows them spinning along with it. This effect was not achieved by actually rotating the actors in a car, but simply spinning the film frame in post-production. When the fire hose is sprayed at PJ Souls' character, the water pressure actually burst the actress's eardrums. Souls was not actually unconscious when her head rolled to the side of the force of the fire hose, but she was in terrible pain and had lost her ability to maintain equilibrium, which is governed by the ear. Brian De Palma decided to keep the shot in. Souls had no hearing in that ear for around 6 months afterwards, though the eardrum did eventually heal.
Jesus, that's brutal.
Pino Donaggio, the film's composer, spoke no English, so he had a translator on set while he scored the film to communicate with De Palma. In '79, 3 years after Carrie, Donaggio would go to work on Tourist Trap, another 70s horror about a string of telekinetic murders. Bernard Herrmann was De Palma's first choice to be the composer. Herrmann was set to be the film's composer, but he died before production began, leaving De Palma to substitute Donaggio, who ironically wound up ripping off Herrmann anyway by using the infamous violin strings theme from Psycho to score the scenes where Carrie uses her telekinesis. Although there have been 3 versions of Carrie and a sequel at this point, the 76 version is the only version Stephen King likes. In fact, they were planning to remake the version in 2013. He openly asked the question, why? When the original was so good. King even likes this version better than his own novel. He says it's much better than the book.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. The success of Carrie at the box office cemented Stephen King's name as an author. King himself was delighted with the film. After the film's box office success, some strikingly similar movies appeared, described by critics as ripoffs. The Initiation of Sarah in 1978 was a TV movie starring Kay Lenz as an outcast with telekinetic powers at a college where a cruel sorority bullies her and plays pranks on her. Jennifer in 1978 starred Lisa Pelican as a misfit as an elite private school who takes revenge on her tormentors using her psychic powers over snakes.
Okay. Jeez.
Amy Irving admits that she originally hated the script, but when she first received it, after seeing the finished film, she thought it was simply magic and loved it. In Carrie's house, the statue of religious figure shot with arrows represents Saint Sebastian. It is not a crucifix and does not represent Jesus Christ.
Huh. Okay.
The name of the high school in Bates is Bates High, a reference to Norman Bates from Psycho. In 2022, it was selected for preservation, the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress, deeming it culturally, historically, and or aesthetically significant.
I would agree.
Yeah. So what are your final thoughts on 1976's Carrie?
I mean, it's an own it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a absolute classic of horror and just cinema in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, 1,000%. That's an own it.
Yeah, it's a buy it for me as well. This movie has so much pop culture references still to its day that are being brought out in TV and movie. I mean, it is still talked about on multiple surfaces, both just in the themes of the film as well as just the execution of the film. This is a very important film in horror, but a very important film in cinema entirely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So we always like to end the show with a couple recommendations. The one or two I have this week include The Fury from 1978, currently rentable on Prime and Fandango. A former CIA agent uses the talents of a young psychic to help retrieve his telekinetic son from a shadowy secret government agency. If you have not seen The Fury, all I ask of you is to go on YouTube right now and type in Fury amusement park scene. And if that doesn't get you to watch it, I don't know what will.
Okay.
And second recommendation is going to be 2002's May, currently available on Prime Video, Fossum, Pluto, Roku, and Tubi. A socially awkward veterinarian assistant with a lazy eye and obsession with perfection descends into depravity after developing a crush on a boy with perfect hands.
Oh, perfect hands.
What's your recommendation?
You know, I thought about it long and hard. And I'm going to go with one that I think no one's going to expect. And I hope if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. I'm going to go with 1991's Omen 4, The Awakening.
Ooh.
And which is in many ways a remake.
Yeah.
But it's a sequel.
Yeah.
Basically starring the daughter of Damien. And it's basically a very similar story, but it's a little girl who becomes the omen of the Antichrist.
Very underrated TV movie.
It is, and it was a TV movie. It was for HBO, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's violent. And it was one that I saw on cable in its first run.
Yeah.
And it was probably the first Omen movie I ever saw because it was always on HBO.
Does not surprise me.
And I really liked it. I revisited it years later by finding the DVD, which was like impossible to find for a while.
Yeah.
Now it's on a Blu-ray box with the Omen. In fact, when the first Omen Blu-ray box came out, I put my copy of Omen 4 in there.
Yeah.
But now there's a full edition, but you can also rent it on Prime Video. Unfortunately, it's not readily available, which is a bummer. But I've always thought it was extremely underrated.
It's worth seeking out. It's very underrated. So do we have any emails this week?
We do. I want to remind everybody you could send us an email at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. We loved hearing from you guys, movies you like, things you're enjoying, anything you want. My ear really, really hurts.
I can tell.
So this one is from Kramer.
Okay.
He says, "Hey guys, just wanted to stop in and say thank you for this podcast. My Tuesdays at work would be hell without Henrique picking on David and the deep dive David does on the filmmakers involved with the film of the week. My mental health hasn't been the best this year, and in struggling to be creative myself, this podcast has been a beacon of light as of late. I'd love to hear you both tackle a few different films.
Ooh.
Number 1, Twin Peaks Firewalk with me.
Just saw it for the first time.
He says, the movie is haunting to say the least and would love your perspective on it. Number 2, The Majestic. He says, my favorite Jim Carrey film everyone seems to forget about.
I could see that.
I've not seen it.
You haven't seen The Majestic? It's a solid flick. It is like 3 hours long, but it's a solid flick.
His third one is The Mighty from 1998.
Oh, wow. The film adaptation of Freak the Mighty.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it was a book that our 5th grade teacher read to us, and I sought the movie out, which I believe has Sharon Stone in it. It's a good movie. It's got one of the Culkins in it. It's not Macaulay, but it's one of the other ones.
One of them Culkins.
One of
Or
them
Maggity
Culkins.
with Culkins. And number 4, a film I've been a massive fan of for a very long time, although I feel like when we rewatched it, we didn't like it as much. Buffy the Vampire Slayer from 1992.
I have been kicking around. It didn't hold up the best when we revisited it, but it's still pretty fun. And I mean, and also it's got the great Paul Rubens and Rutger Hauer, who we lost recently as well too. So I mean, yeah, that might be a one to throw on the docket for sure.
I mean, I love that movie as a kid. I always did. It's 90s as hell. And and you mentioned for Paul Rubin alone.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And his last note is, and this is an interesting thought, and I'd kill to get an episode on any of Henrique's films as well, specifically Babysitter Massacre or Depression the movie. I mean, I'm not opposed to it because I know stuff about them, but that would be something that Dave would have to pull together to ask me a million questions about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be against it. That's honestly, I'll put that to Dave like I put any.
I'll kick that around. I mean, I was on most of those sets. There's only a few that I wasn't.
You weren't on Depression.
Not on Depression. No, on Babysitter.
Oh, you were. I think
the finale of Babysitter more so.
You were on set for a good 60%. Maybe,
yeah,
maybe
actually, I was. Now I think about it. Yeah,
maybe a smidge more, maybe a smidge less.
Because I think only the pickup scenes are the ones that I don't recall being.
And
there.
you were on a couple of those too.
Yeah.
Because you ended up playing a role in one of them.
I did. So, I died in Babysitter.
Yeah. No, you did. So I mean, I'd be open to it if you but you would have to. That'd be a lot of work on your end.
Probably if we did that, it would probably be like a bonus episode.
No. I can't fit more podcasts.
No, I mean when I'm saying that is I don't know if it would necessarily fit the rundown format, but we could absolutely do something like that.
I mean, if you ran down the movie, I mean, you just have to come up with questions.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying.
I mean, I won't shut up if you.
It would be a special kind of show, obviously. Henrique Couto, this is your life.
On a very special episode of Do You Even Movie. But I mean, there's definitely, especially with Depression the movie in particular, I have so much to say.
Yeah.
I would be happy to cover Babysitter like when the sequels are ready to come out because we were filming on Babysitter 2 last weekend.
Yeah.
Or not even that long ago. I mean, it was like 5 days ago.
Yep.
We're getting really close.
We are indeed.
So, and then he concludes with looking forward to whatever you guys have planned next, Kramer.
Oh boy.
Well, Kramer, thank you seriously for writing in. And we're so glad that the podcast could bring you some joy because that really is the name of the game. And I'm very thankful for the people who've written in and said the positive things that the show's brought them because, some weeks it's hard to pull a show together. Some weeks, like if I were to like make up a thought experiment, like there's some weeks where, you're working like 9 consecutive days in a row, like 15 hours a day. And then you wake up with a severely infected ear and you're,
I'm so happy that hasn't happened.
No, thank God.
I know.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Kramer. He gave us a 5-star review probably a couple months back or so.
Thank you.
That rivaled that 1-star we got recently.
Oh, yeah. That guy can, in the words of a great poet, he can suck a dick up till he hiccups.
I agree.
So, but yeah, thank you very much, Kramer. And we'll take all of those into consideration. I mean, at least a couple of them are definitely a win.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Buffy. I would love to talk about it sometime.
Buffy's fun.
It'd be so 90s.
Yeah.
But, yeah, thank you. And if you guys want to write in, it's doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com or head to doyouevenmovie.com for all the information.
Yes, sir.
If you're watching us right now on YouTube, please make sure you're subscribed. Leave a like on the video. It does help. If you're listening to us on the podcast, make sure you, whatever it is, subscribe. Make sure you are subscribed. And if you could leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify,
yes,
it really does help. And you can also leave a comment on Spotify. I read all of them. I share them with Dave if they're prudent. Otherwise, I respond to them directly in Spotify. So really do appreciate it.
And I read the YouTube comments and I'll respond to them too, as long as they're not rude.
They're mostly fine.
they're pretty good. Would you like to know what we are talking about next week as we bring May They Rest in Peace to a close?
Yeah.
So we are going to do a first time for you.
Oh.
One of my personal favorites of the late, great Val Kilmer, who we lost very recently.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about this earlier.
2010's MacGruber with Will Forte.
2010.
Yeah, 2010 with Will Forte, Val Kilmer. I'm blanking on her name. The chicken bridesmaids. Why can I not?
Hateful. Kristen Wiig.
Thank you, Kristen Wiig. One of my favorite comedies, still holds up. It's so gratuitous. It's so raunchy. It's so funny. And Val Kilmer is great in it because he not only gets to play the villain, but he's a comedic relief villain too.
Okay.
So it's a lot
Well, I mean,
of fun.
it is a comedy.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I mean,
it's absolutely insane. So if you haven't seen MacGruber, currently rentable on Prime and Fandango, not readily streaming anywhere,
It's
unfortunately.
not on Peacock or
no,
anything.
even though the series is on it.
Oh, there was a MacGruber series?
Peacock did an original.
Oh,
yeah, which I haven't watched. I haven't watched yet because
ago,
I completely forgot about it. But
wow, it was not a success.
no, it was not. I love MacGruber though, so I cannot wait to show it to you. But yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And I will say, we did have a couple people ask if we were going to do Gene Hackman. He was originally planned to be included in this lineup. Unfortunately, there's just too many damn good movies in order to pick one.
And we'll end up picking them later anyway.
Yeah.
He'll end up on the show.
He may even
many
be a whole
times.
month. Who knows?
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no shortage of great Gene Hackman
There is
movies.
not. So, but that is going to do it for us here tonight.
Is it?
It is.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on Do You Have a Movie? Really do appreciate it. And I guess all that's left to say is we will see you
at the prom.
Prom. I was gonna say,
They're all going to laugh at you.
I hope so.